Program, Minister of Water and Environment, UNDP, Emily, and all of you who have spared your noble time and resources to come and join us. We are kind of late by our time. I would request a volunteer. I believe we all have a program on our desks. If not, I'll request Secretariat to please provide a program. But I believe the screen is not so clear for me. Maybe it's an age issue. IT gurus, I hope you can do better than that. I can see others who are following me. They might not be seeing it. For comfort, I'm called Rebecca. Many of you have not seen me, and I am honored to facilitate. Facilitation is easy. Just see who is not talking. Please say a word, contribution, what's going to be your engagement. You use trees, you use carbon daily. The A is about to charge us for the air we are breathing. No, I've not said that. Can I have a volunteer to pray? Zabia. Umia. Thank you. Volunteer chosen by me who is holding the mic. Mr. Some help. This mic. Thank you.
Let's humble ourselves. Each one with her and his beliefs. We pray that this day be blessed. We pray that our deliberations be fruitful. We ask this thanks through Jesus and the other deities that take care of us. Amen.
You see, he's holistic. And can we have the mic from where the prayer? Yeah, you'll start from the back, and then we come front, and then we go. Members will need to know who is here, lest we have someone from the Hamas group or from Al-Shabaab. We need to know your names. You are starting from there. I'm the facilitator, and I have requested that we introduce ourselves from that angle comfortably. Tell us your name, which organization you're representing, and a bit of an expectation. I believe Secretariat would need to know the stakeholders who are here with us today. As you receive the invite, what is your expectation? Your name, no stories, just your name, which organization, and your expectation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Ephraim Kasozi. I work with the Water and Environment Media Network.
And your engagement, you are here for a stakeholder engagement. What do you expect that will that Water Media Network will contribute in this? All will benefit.
I expect to learn more about the Red Plus program.
Okay.
Update.
Sorry.
Good morning. My name is Jalila Namiala. I'm a journalist.
Network. Jamila, we've not heard certain words, please.
My name is Jalila Namiala.
Janila Namiala, welcome.
I'm a journalist with the Water and Environment Media Network. I'm expecting to know more about the update on the Red Plus program.
And be able to spread the news in the whole networks.
Absolutely.
Okay, next.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kuruthum Nampima. I work at learn more on the number of stakeholders that will be involved in that.
All of them who are here, they are going to be. Next, please. So, Lydia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Essence B. Prescovia. I work as a sociologist, Ministry of Water and Environment. My expectation, I hope to get out of here when I've learned something.
Like what? As a sociologist, in the ministry that is spearheading the implementation of the engagement that we are here and your core stakeholder? Implementation of what?
The social aspects that are involved in this project.
So thank you. Other stakeholders, please commit to that.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm called Kaikara Susan. I'm a forest officer, Ministry of Water and Environment. I expect to know more about Red Plus program.
What do you want to know in the Red Plus program? So that, I'm sorry, I'm a bit, I take long to understand. Sometimes you can call me Joshua. I don't do it badly, but I also want to understand. So as a forest officer in the Ministry of Water, my boss, please don't fire me. Please, yeah, just something so that we.
I want to know how the implementation will be done.
How the implementation is going to be done towards the first aspects. Welcome. Yeah.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Christine Batusa. I support the secretary, the Red Plus, on the stakeholder engagement and the development of the plan for the safeguards. Thank you.
You still have to give me an expectation.
My expectation is to have your input, your feedback on the draft document.
So you also write that as secretary, that the stakeholders get, Bambi, don't get scared. I just ask for me to understand.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Gabriel Kato. I work with Ministry of Water and Environment, Department of Environment Sector Support Services as an environment officer. I expect to identify areas where we can collaborate with the rest of the stakeholders that shall be in the room.
Thank you, Kato. Kato is not a mister. Thank you, Kato. You're here. Next.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Derek Rukondo. I work as the Regional Forest Officer supporting Central Uganda with the Ministry of Water and Environment. I'm here to learn or know the roles and responsibility of the various stakeholders in the Red Plus process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mujisha Adam, a forest officer. I would like to get more knowledge on how Red Plus really works, because we often got questions on carbon trade or carbon credit.
Good.
So I believe I will get answers today.
So many questions that jargon. Yes, they've heard.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
That's a Kaveho, a data analyst from Ministry of Water and Environment. My expectations is to understand all the data-related necessities and, maybe look out for the gaps and everything data-related.
Thank you. You've really won me. Next.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm called Perry Ayakaka, Regional Forest Officer for Northern Uganda. My expectations are related to the relevant stakeholders involved and the level of exposure Red Plus has out there. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Morning, I'm called Hope Asimwe. I work as a Regional Forest Officer, Western Uganda, with the Ministry of Water and Environment. My expectation is to understand how this plan has incorporated indigenous knowledge communities in a detailed way, because of course the center is local communities, the indigenous people. So how most of the times there's a gap between different stakeholders and the people we're actually working for. So I think that how has this plan detailedly involved them, and how are they going to be able to focus on them? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks. Can we start at the back and then we shall end this one? These ones are near me. They'll talk last because they're near me. In case we have members online, feel at home online through technology. Thank God to COVID, that was the good thing that came out. We can talk at length, miles, all that. I understand we could be having UNEP representatives. We shall request you to be shown so that we feel comfortable that you're joining us. Please proceed with the introduction.
Yes, good morning. My name is Edwin Benumisha. I work with the Food and Agriculture Organization as the GIS and remote sensing expert. I contribute to the collection of the activity data for the ag trees. And my expectations are to get to understand the inputs of the different stakeholders other than.
Good. Welcome. Thank you. There is another data person, and we need that.
My name is Dr. Bachika. I work for Emily as a deputy director, but also I support the climate change department on the NDC's implementation. My expectation is to see how we can comply with the stakeholder related requirements to participate in the art trees. Thank you.
Thank you too. Yes.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Gasta Chiinju. I work for Tree Talk Plus as a team leader. My expectation, I participated in the RED stakeholder engagement plan, which is on meant that is rolled out. So my expectation is related to understanding the updates on stakeholder engagement plans for RED.
Squarely in today. Welcome. Yes.
My name is Mugumia Xavier Nyindo. I am a consultant with the Forestry Sector Support Department, and with respect to this art trees standard of RED, I contributed in updating the safeguards that we had prepared for RED Plus to comply with the safeguard requirements for art trees. My expectation is to the link between the stakeholder engagement and the safeguards requirements to see how that link is established, and then to update the safeguards components to include the stakeholder engagement updates that we received today.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
consultant.
Good morning, all. My name is Masam Gara from Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development in the Urban Environment Division. My expectation today is to appreciate from the presentations the spatial context of this program, and also to see how we can, as a ministry, support in the participatory planning needs for this program.
And guiding the land use applications as guided by your National Land Information System. Welcome, Martha.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zainab Kakungulu. I work with FAO. I think my expectation is kind of broad. I'm interested in knowing broadly where we are in terms of payments for emissions reduction, where we are as a country, and possibly, what we have kind of achieved in terms of how close we are basically to getting the money.
Yeah, the data, what have we done? No, proceed. I'm just trying to pick out the data and how far we are getting the money. That one, please.
I'm a forest officer. I support the Plus Secretariat. My expectation is to hear the input of different stakeholders into the stakeholder engagement plan. And I'm happy to see each one of you. We have talked on phone and on WhatsApp. I want to thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you for welcoming us too.
Thank you. Good morning to you all.
Morning.
Nabacha Allen Cholaba, Forestry Officer from the Forestry Sector Support Department. My expectation is to see to get to know the inputs of the different stakeholders towards the emission reductions. Thank you.
Welcome, Nabacha. Stakeholders, have you heard? But I note the regional people sat on the same desk. And since I have the mic, I am kind of in charge, small. Can we get to different regions? Yes, Monica.
Yes. Good morning to you all.
Morning.
My name is Monique Akulo and I work with the UNDP country office. I'm the program officer for the Biodiversity Finance Initiative, but also the focal point for the RED Plus in Uganda. My expectation is to understand and listen to the stakeholders so that we can identify the forest solutions that we can easily finance and support at country level.
Have you heard the ending thing? Stakeholders, please. Are you IT team?
Those are IT team.
Are you all IT team? Okay. Welcome everybody once again. I am called Rebecca Bukenya Sabaganzi. I'm the only local person here. But I am a facilitator today. I've not said anything else. Members, we are kind of running out of time. Thank you so much for the introductions. I believe Secretariat has taken note of those expectations and presentations would try to get them cleared by the end of the day. I would love to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Haddad Kavuma, the project coordinator, to give us a welcome remarks. You're welcome. Oh, UNEP, I asked whether we have people online. Not yet. Yeah, I would love to see them so that we ensure they are part of the discussion. Mr. Haddad Kavuma, please.
Yeah.
No? I'm sorry for being, but it's good that you come up front. We have a connection. You are welcome, Sarah Beard. Hello, nice seeing you. Can you greet us and tell us who you are as we go, before we go, we have a welcome remarks?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Fantastic. So my name is Sarah Beard, and I'm a program officer with UNEP WCMC. I work to support the environmental and social safeguards work in the Africa region. And I guess my expectation today is to understand the interest, awareness, and/or understanding of the Cancun social safeguards or other relevant social environmental safeguards of the stakeholders. So I'm here to listen, observe, and follow the discussion. So it's nice to see everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. In case you have a comment, feel free to put up your hand. We shall be glad to hear you. Welcome, Haddad.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to you all. My name is Kavuma Haddad. I work with Emily. First of all, representatives of the PS, at the same time, the RED Plus focal point. You're welcome. Representative from UNDP, you're welcome. Representative from FAO, representative from ministries, departments, and agencies, representative from local government, you are still one, the media personnel, civil society organizations in the room, you are all welcome. And on behalf of Emily, I welcome and thank you for honoring our invitation to the half-day workshop on the draft stakeholder engagement plan for emissions reduction. Today, I'm very privileged that we have different stakeholders we've been having a number of capacity building workshops on art, that is architecture for RED Plus transaction. At the same time, the TRUS, that is the RED Plus Environment Excellence Standard. So this time around, we have different stakeholders who will be briefing our documents, because today is a consultative workshop. At the same time, it's a capacity building workshop for those who are new in this area. I take this opportunity to thank the RED Plus Secretariat headed by Mr. Bob Kazungu for all the support, that's the chemical backstopping into this, and also thank the UN RED unit for financial support towards this initiative. So, Madam Chair, I will not take much of your time because I have a lot of welcoming remarks from different people. So mine was just to welcome you as the Secretariat of Emily to this consultative workshop on emissions reduction payments in Uganda. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haddad, the coordinator. Usually others wait for LC1. Here we are not LC1, but we are at Emily. Thank you so much. According to our program, we are supposed to have Mr. Maminiania Rosamolina. Oh, this is a botanical. I'm sorry, I've not said that. On the UN Red Africa coordinator from UNEP, and he ought to be online. I'm not sure if he's already there. Online persons, check if, okay. We need to get moving, and I'll go to the next item on our agenda is our opening remarks from Mr. Alfred Okoti Okidi, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water and Environment. And these offices are never empty. They are always able shoes, able coats, able ties of persons who can stand in. So I take the honor to welcome Mr. David Okurut. He's the Commissioner, Wetlands Department, and he's currently sitting in for the Acting Director in the Directorate of Environment Affairs. You are very welcome, Mr. David Okuru, to give us opening remarks from the Ministry of Water and Environment. He hadn't introduced himself because I wanted to feel the pleasure of introducing a noble officer. You're welcome, sir.
Madam Sarah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I say the opening remarks by the permanent secretaries, permit me to say a few words here. Our focal point person for the RED Plus at the ministry and all the development partners, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for organizing this high-level consultative workshop. As a partner in the sector, we are looking forward to tapping into this action plan and the strategy. You are all aware that currently we are experiencing a lot of challenges as far as climate change is concerned. And we hope that as a ministry and development partners, this strategy and actions will help us move a long way to ensure that we mitigate the effects of climate change. At the moment, you are aware, we have problems, declining forest cover, declining wetland cover in the country, and it is you who are seated here this morning who should be the architects to ensure that we change the situation for the good of this country. I want to inform you that we are engaging with the communities as far as the issues of carbon markets and trade is concerned. And this is an area the organizers should take keen interest to note that the public, the communities out there, people do not understand what we mean by carbon markets or carbon trade. So I think when I saw through the plan, there are a lot of engagements that are going to be conducted at various levels and different ministries and agencies. I think this should be the focal point person should take keen interest to ensure that there is a lot of awareness creation. Even amongst us ourselves, we do not understand fully how do we tap into this carbon credits, carbon trade, which type of trees, at what level is a person supposed to benefit, who should do it, and all these mechanisms, the administrative arrangements needs to come out very clearly. I want to thank you for inviting me and also taking this opportunity to be part of this engagement. Now I read the speech of the permanent secretary, who would have loved to be here himself to officially say the opening remarks. But because of schedules beyond him, he decided to request me to come and say his opening remarks, and therefore I will read his words. A Ministry of Water and Environment high-level consultative workshop on the draft stakeholders engagement plan for emission reduction payments under REDD+ and ART-Trees requirements in Uganda. On the 9th April 2024, Protea Hotel, Skies Hotel here, representatives of the United Nations Environment Programme, representatives from UN, FAO, representatives from UNDP, representatives from UNFCCC, Regional Collaborative Center, Kampala, representatives from GIZ, representatives from G, honorable members of Parliament present, colleagues from ministries, departments, and agencies, the Executive Director of NFA, Executive Director of NEMA, representatives from district local governments, representatives of all the academia, private sector, non-state actors, international and local, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, good morning to you all, and thank you for honoring our invitation to this very important half-day high-level consultative workshop on the draft stakeholders engagement plan for emission reduction payments in Uganda, with focus on the architecture of REDD+ transaction, the REDD+ environmental excellence standard ART-Trees. It is a great honor to officiate at this important event, and allow me to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the UNEP with financial support from the UN REDD program for the current support to REDD+ implementation in Uganda. With the aim to increase results-based payments in Uganda, the Environmental Management for Livelihood Improvement VICE facility, which administers this support, we greatly thank you. Uganda joined other countries in 2008 to journey through the preparation of the Uganda to be among the REDD+ ready countries in the world. This journey took us about 12 years, and I'm glad to report that we are able to successfully deliver the much needed 4 Warsaw elements of the REDD+ readiness phase: the National REDD+ strategy and action plan, the National Forest Monitoring System, which makes part of our monitoring, reporting, and verification tool for REDD+, the Forest Reference Emission Level, which serves as our baseline and safeguard information system that provides an opportunity to report on Uganda's compliance to CANCAM safeguards requirements or related standard safeguard requirements. With ever increasing requirements to deliver the objectives of the UN nations Framework Convention on Climate Change at global level, including the need for supply countries like Uganda to deliver high integrity carbon credits. The elements also require fine-tuning. Uganda has continued to strengthen its readiness elements to ensure compliance of a number of global requirements to participate in result-based payments. Uganda is also currently preparing a framework for international carbon market mechanism with required regulation and guidelines that will guide Uganda involvement in carbon transaction and all result-based payments. This framework lists a number of standards, including the art trees that can be employed for any carbon transactions. Transactions of carbon credits are operated through standards, and one of such standards is the art trees standard. And Uganda in early 2023 joined other countries to initiate work to assess Uganda readiness to align with the requirements of the standard following successful 15 years of REDD+ readiness phase. One of the elements to which Uganda must align is the safeguards, and such stakeholders engagement plan has been prepared, to which we seek your input. We also wish to share with you the progress of the UN REDD support in this workshop. The stakeholders engagement plan demonstrates Uganda's deliberate effort that we recognize, respect, protect, and fulfill the rights of all relevant stakeholders to participate fully and effectively in the design and implementation of the REDD+ actions. Throughout today's workshop, I encourage each one of you to actively participate, share experiences, contribute constructively to refinement of this stakeholders engagement plan, but also shape our advancement of REDD+ work in the country. Your inputs will help ensure that the plan is robust, responsive to the needs of diverse stakeholders, and conducive to fostering partnerships and collaborations at all levels. I extend my best wishes for fruitful deliberations and productive outcomes. May today's workshop serve as a platform for meaningful dialogue, consensus building, and actionable insights that will propel us towards a more sustainable and resilient future. For God and my country, Alfred Okoto Kidi, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Water and Environment. I will now take this singular honor to officially declare this stakeholders engagement workshop open.
Thank you so much, Minister, Permanent Secretary. I dare not resound anything of that he has said, but I note the high level expectation of the participants that he detailed for us and the commitments that they are expecting from us as the Minister of Water and Environment. It's not them alone. It's a stakeholder effort. It is a stakeholder requirement to commit for us to move ahead. Members had said we are expecting someone from UNEP in the names of Mr. Manimia, that name. And I'm requesting if Sarah, you're still on board, please make a statement on behalf of UNEP. I don't know if Sarah Beard, you said hello to us, would request that you say a word or two on behalf of UNEP so that we can move together in a team. Sarah.
Thank you. I'm afraid I can't probably speak on behalf of UNEP because we work for a different organization. But I know that that Mami was unlikely to be able to make his presence. And I'm sure that he would say that he, like me, is very excited to follow the safeguards discussion here today, and to thank everyone for their interest and passion and for solutions. And that's really what brings us together today. So I think he would be very enthusiastic as well to see the level of engagement and participation from everyone today. So I thank everyone so much for showing up and being prepared to ask questions and engage in the topic of social and environmental safeguards for UN Red and beyond.
Thank you, Sarah. True, the interest, the passion is great. And we believe that together with this stakeholder engaged here, we shall get moving. The recent heat waves have been sufficient to speak to the cause that we are here for. These days, we don't labor to explain ourselves, do we? And you know, it didn't segregate. Even there, I'll not say that place, it was a bit hot. So thank you so much, stakeholders, for coming. Thank you so much, Sarah Beard. You can be assured that the passion here is real. Members, I know I'm running late by some 20 minutes, and we have a key presentation from the focal person, who is none other than Mr. Bob Kazungu, the National Red Plus focal point person based in the Ministry of Water and Environment. I have happened to see him grow, and with a passion that Sarah has mentioned, I think it is stored squarely, wholesomely, handsomely in him. I believe he has met all of you in various walks of life, and he's able to give us a very good presentation. I want join me with a hand clap to welcome Mr. Bob Kazungu to give us a presentation. And just before, I'm going to request that we move this round, and you know why? So just bear with me because of the red eyes. I just see it here. So just endure if you can, and we spray in our hands. Thank you. Spray here. So.
It's a great pleasure indeed to be here this morning. And what a pleasure it is to have a number of you here. We did receive about 90% of confirmations for this engagement. So we hope probably that additional people will be walking in any time. And just like Madam Reb mentioned, I have a passion for, this subject right away from the issue of conservation of forests, but more so with the Red Plus. And I want to thank God that I was asked to take on this responsibility about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, having come in to be the focal point for Red Plus after some very powerful piece of work that was done by the previous team. And happy that Xavier Mugumi is here. He's an architect of as Red Plus supporting the Secretariat as alternate Red Plus focal point at that time. And so we've journeyed, we've really come a long way. And this morning, allow me, first of all, to say you're welcome, because I can't miss that. It's quite, we don't take your being here for granted. It's quite a busy period, I must say. But I'll share with you where we have come from. But also, when I go to this place at 6:30, I felt that AM, that is likely that not many people have a good understanding of what this art trees thing is all about. So I'll talk a little bit about the art trees, and trees. I think that's the best way to have it. And then after that, I'll close with an overview of the UN Red's support. But allow me to also mention before I go to the slides that the UN Red, which is a consortium of 3 UN
entities, FAO, UNDP, and UN Environment, have been with us since 2009. We're about there, 2008, 2009, when Uganda joined other countries to develop what we call the four Warsaw elements of RED Plus. Next slide. So I'll be talking about the status or Uganda's readiness, RED Plus readiness, because it's important for you to appreciate where we've come from. And then what happened as soon as we concluded our readiness phase? You know, we didn't just shut down, you know, so we continued to advance the work of RED Plus in the country. And then a little bit of overview of activities, like I mentioned, and then the overview of the UN RED support in Uganda. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the National RED Plus process in Uganda started about 2008, 2009, when Uganda became a participant of the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility, the famous FCPF. Is now changing to something else, what we call SCALE by the World Bank. You'll be hearing that later. But this was after there was an approval of a readiness plan idea note that we had submitted to the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility of the World Bank. So since about 2013, the government of Uganda embarked on implementing a RED Plus readiness phase. Maybe just to go back a little bit, between 2009 and 2012, we then developed what we call the RPP, the Readiness Preparedness Plan, sort of like a proposal to be able to deliver the four Warsaw elements. Warsaw was the city where we agreed globally. There was a conference of parties at that time that this is how RED Plus will be advanced. And these are the key elements, and they're called Warsaw elements. There are four of them. The National RED Plus Strategy and Action Plan, which we do have as a country. Some of you who have been with us in this journey know that we launched this National RED Plus Strategy and Action Plan in 2019 at one of our joint sector review meetings. And we improved it in 2020. With again additional financing from the World Bank, or CPF. We also have the National Forest Monitoring System. Colleagues from NFA, the ED is not yet here. I know you think we're supposed to send one of the directors, hope they're on the way, but we worked very hard with the National Forest Authority and some of the colleagues here from FAO agreed that it was really a very important piece of work for us to deliver a national forest monitoring system. So this system is basically to track emissions. I mean, but it can do many other things. It's a robust system. You can, and we're trying to see how it fits in with other systems we have within the Ministry of Water and Environment. But it delivers more than just tracking of emissions. But the technical work was done by the National Forest Authority. The RED Plus Secretary of the Ministry does the coordination function. And the FAO at that time supported us with technical assistance. All the best brains from Rome came down here to do that. The file, which is the forest reference emission level, is sort of like the baseline of how emissions are, the status of emissions in Uganda. And we submitted this baseline to the UNFCCC as a requirement. UNFCCC is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. You might have heard about it. So we were obligated to submit this to the UNFCCC just to know where we are in terms of emission reductions in the country. So that was 2018, about 5 years ago. So looking at having a second version of this file. Then the Safeguard Information System, which is mainly the work that the UN environment is now advancing, continue to advance. It is a system that tracks how we are complying with what we call the Cancun safeguard. So the global the UNFCCC and all the bodies that attend the COPs agreed in Cancun in South America that safeguards, which are 7 safeguards, need to be complied with if REDD+ transactions for carbon are to be delivered. So the safeguard information system is supposed to do that. We've received some support, as you'll see in the next slides, post this readiness phase of how to have this system available in the country. Next slide. So all these 4 elements are actually available. So Uganda is considered actually globally as one of the countries that is sort of ready to transact in carbon through the approach of REDD+ transactions. In addition to those 4 elements, which cannot be used alone, and also for purposes of implementing the REDD+ strategy and action plan, there were some additional frameworks that we developed during the readiness phase. And one of them is the benefit sharing arrangement, because we know that if we were to do these transactions, there will be money coming into other benefits other than money coming into. But how do we share these benefits? So there is a benefit sharing arrangement available in the country. There is an environment and social management framework. For those of you who are conversant with the environmental safeguards requirement, the World Bank has a requirement for environmental and social management frameworks for the work that it supports. Of course, that looks at how we comply to environmental and social concerns of accruing from implementation of some REDD+ investments, for example. Then the feedback, grievance, and redress mechanism is another framework. This feedback, grievance, redress mechanism is about managing conflicts that could arise, as a result of implementing REDD+. So many things can happen. It can be from indigenous people's point of view. It can be from conflicts can arise if you, for example, protect a forest or conserve a forest with some tight, some conflicts would arise. So how do we handle these conflicts? So this feedback, grievance, and redress mechanism provides for that opportunity to do that. The indigenous people's planning framework, we're taking care of indigenous persons. When you look at the Cancun, and I challenge you, when you look at the Cancun safeguards, one of the safeguards is focusing on how do we ensure that the rights of indigenous persons are taken care of. We're supposed to have, I think, a participant from the indigenous communities in this meeting. Seems I'm not seeing him or her. Yeah, so the issue of indigenous peoples is quite important when it comes to trade or transactions of carbon. Then the strategic environmental and social assessment, the SESA, was also a framework that was developed related almost to environmental and social management framework. In addition, we also did do some things for emission reductions, idea notes for emission reduction for 2 water management zones. Maybe just to take you back. When you read our national REDD+ strategy and action plan, you'll appreciate that REDD+ implementation is supposed to be done at water management zone level. So we have 4 water management zones in the country, and so those blocks that make up the country can actually be used as grounds for us to assess the amount of emissions reduced if we do any implementation within those 4 zones. So in order for us to be able to produce what we call a project design document for these water management zones, we start with what we call a project idea note, And so we developed 2. We didn't conclude the PDDs. We hope to get some additional support to be able to complete that. But maybe it may not be necessary. Those are things we shall be agreeing with some of our working groups. But we did that, which is a starting point to have a document that we can use to shop around for buyers of REDD+ credits in the country. But during that time, we also did develop what called the Forest Investment Program. And for those of you who are aware about the current $178.2 million FCD project in the country, It was actually developed out of the Forest Investment Program, as well as the Red Plus Strategy and Action Plan options that we had. So this fee is also a document that can be used to shop, but also can be used to reference if you want to develop projects that can deliver emission reductions. We also did submit a technical annex to the biannual update report to the UNFCCC. Now, this technical annex is about Red Plus results at that time, and this was in April 2020, to be precise, at the peak of COVID. So for the teams from NFA and from this Red Plus Secretariat, you will recall very well that we were moving up and down during that time to make sure we submit these Red Plus results. So when we submit results to voluntarily as a country, the UNFCCC, then an opportunity presents itself for who want to transact, who may want to buy those carbon credits. And based on the frail that we had were prepared and submitted in 2018. So we have some results for the year 2015 to 2017, which are available, and we are trying to actually sell them to the GCF, Red Plus results-based payments, because they might become obsolete if we don't sell them quickly. With the carbon credits, if you delay to sell them, they become old, they age like us, you become old also, and you are no longer useful. So we are trying to see that we can get some at least 40 million to invest back in the forest sector. But the negotiations are still going on. There are many other countries that also want to partake of that basket. We have another phase of the GCF resource, Red Plus resource-based payments that is being discussed with the board. We have been there to negotiate for the country, and we're looking forward to see. So we also submitted the first summary of safeguards information to the UNFCCC for that period. Now, the summary of safeguards information just presents a summary of how we complied with with the company safeguards requirements during the readiness phase. So this first one was for that purpose. We hope to submit a second one in the coming months with the current support. Next slide. So that is basically in summary what we've been doing, what we did during readiness phase. And so many things, of course, remained to be done because, the emerging things that keep coming up here and there. But one of the things we think that we want to do, and we're trying to look for support to this effect, is to integrate Red Plus activities in the mandates of government of Uganda institutions at the center. We had a policy dialogue in Entebbe, some of you attended, which was geared towards, so we had many of the ministries with us in Entebbe, and we tried to let them appreciate how Red Plus activities can actually be embedded into their mandates and their work plans and things like that. So there were some policy recommendations. This report is, I think, now readily available. We shall throw it on the website. You'll be able to pick it. We also want to unpack, of course, the Red Plus strategy and have it integrated in district development plans, because this Red Plus thing has been so much at the center. Because we preparing frameworks, that can be used for us to implement the strategy. So now we want to take it down to the district development plans, but also, of course, if there are plans at the zonal level, why not? We hope to establish and formalize Red Plus institutional and organizational arrangements at the district level, starting with those regions. We'll prepare and publish the jurisdictional nesting approaches and implement Red Plus at water median zone level. Jurisdictional nesting is about trying to delineate who is doing what at within these water management zones, because we have many projects that are red in nature or Red Plus projects that have been started with feasibility studies out there, and of course they want to develop carbon projects, but we need to nest them out. Nesting means that you sort of delineate get to know who is doing what, and you allocate depending on the nesting approach you want to use. You can allocate credits or a volume for that project, so that you avoid what called double counting, you avoid even conflict. And maybe for information, we have a new project called Aim for Forest that is coming to support this. It is also led by the FAO, it is UK funded, is coming to support this nesting approach. For those of you who are from organizations that are developing carbon projects, I don't know who here, I cannot see some, maybe. Yeah, you know that we have issues. We have so many little projects out there that are being called carbon projects. So we want to be sure that when it comes to the time of accounting, there is no double counting. So we want to nest you out and register you in the REDD+ registry, which we shall be developing with the support of UN REDD. Next slide. We also think that we need to improve some of the baselines in those water management zones. Good to have baselines at that level also. We have a national baseline of 2018, the FREL, but as we do the second FREL, we also believe that it's good to improve the baselines within the water management zones, just so that we are able to do the nesting well. So the work of nesting, we shall have some conversations to see whether that can also support that kind of improvement of the baselines. Of course, I mentioned we need to update the FREL. The baseline that we had was only for avoided deforestation. There are many activities of REDD. There are 5 activities. One of them is deforestation, or what we call you avoid deforestation, then you reduce emission. But there are others like degradation and sustainable forest management and those kind of activities, and of course enhancement of carbon stocks. So those activities can also be included within a FREL, like some of the removals or the plantations that we have really planted in this, established in this country, and the restoration interventions we are having now with the roots campaign and things like that. This can contribute to enhancement of carbon stocks in the country. So that activity of enhancement carbon stocks can actually also be included in this FREL. It wasn't included in the FREL. In other words, the country has a bigger potential for, because with this FREL, I think we have about 8.4 million tons of carbon equivalent, carbon dioxide equivalent. But if we add the other activities, I think we have more potential for credits in this country. Uganda is rich, actually, and my objective of the piece mentioned something in passing, but for example, the peatlands, the peatlands which come out of wetlands, CS also a pool for carbon. So there's so many things that as a country we can actually do to enhance our footprint of carbon. We also think that we need to continue supporting national and international reporting. For example, produce a second technical annex. Remember also that by the end of I think December, we shall be starting to report what we call biannual transparency reporting, and rather than biannual update reports. I challenge you to read more. You see, this conversation of carbon trade has a lot of terminologies. Now I'm talking about biannual update report. Someone is saying, what is this? I'm talking about biannual transparency reports. Somebody is imagining, what is this? But I just want to challenge you. Whatever you hear, try to find out what it is, because we may not have the opportunity to have it expounded in this half-day meeting. But as the peers mentioned, the issue of awareness raising, we have taken note of it. The support that we have now through the UNDP, the UN REDD support through the UNDP is going to do a lot of stakeholder engagement and trainings and capacity building and awareness raising. Of course, working together with UN Environment. Maybe for information, UN Environment leads the work of UN REDD in the country. So all these UN bodies are working together. Whatever activities they're being implemented through them, they speak to each other. I just wanted to let you know. So you'll be called upon in 2 other meetings. and you'll see the linkage and the connectivity. I think Xavier was mentioning something to that effect. There are a lot of connections, a lot of linkages between what FAO is doing, what UNEP is doing, and what the UNDP is doing. So yeah, I just wanted to say that just in passing, but we have an obligation to report and to contribute to biannual transparency reports, to contribute to the national communications, which the climate change department normally submit on behalf of government. So we also want to establish a national registry for recording activities and transactions of REDD+ activities. This is work in progress. We hope to do this with the UNDP support, technical support under the UN REDD support. Of course, the Safeguard Information System, we have a web page, we have the architecture, we just want now to amplify it to complete the other components of the information system. There is no country which has this completed in terms of a real fully blown and functioning Safeguard Information System. Maybe we shall be the first. Uganda is very good at being the first. No? And of course, continue building capacity for those aspects of safeguards like we are doing now, like we are going to continue doing. Next slide. I don't have a lot of time and I have many slides, so you want to. So, so then what happened when we concluded the readiness phase? We didn't just sit back. So in 2020, as I mentioned, we became the first country to submit REDD+ results for that period, 2015-2017. PFCCC, and we didn't know that we were going to be the first African country. We just had an interest in doing it because we had just concluded our national forest inventory work, and so we had an opportunity to look at what we have in terms of the emission reduction. So we just submitted, and the fact that we became the first African country attracted a lot of attention, actually, and we've been having people come here from different countries, trying, can we work together, to advance transactions with you for carbon. And then we've been telling them, it's okay, you can find out whether there is potential. But for now, we are doing regulations. And my peers did mention that we're doing regulations and guidelines. So it's tricky. In August 2020, we also were supported by UN REDD through UN Environment to submit an expression of interest to Microsoft, just for the future, in case, we're trying to look around. We had all these results, and so is there anybody who can take this carbon? Can we sell this credit? So we came across an opportunity and expression of request from countries like Microsoft, which we submitted. So, we have our EOI with them. Maybe in the future, I don't know when, they could come up to us and say, oh, guys, can we take on something here? Can we enter into an arrangement? We don't know what will be, but it's good always to be in the archives of those people, because you never know who's going to give you what, as a country. And, as carbon trade advances, we have so many things, so many greenwashers and all these kind of things. So sometimes you need to be alert. Then in 2020 also, we continued to work with FAO. There was a Jeff-funded capacity initiative transparency, which improved our national forest monitoring system. We did an assessment for how the NFMS could be made very functional and operational. So there was the support. All the things are connected to the current work. Next slide. I think I should move faster. Of course, around 2021, 2022, UN Environment again came in and said, guys, can we do some additional work with you, improve the safeguards work? So web page we developed for the safeguard information system. We went ahead also to do what we call a strategy for results-based payments, collected some initial data for the safeguard information system. And Xavier was assisting us in that at that time as a consultant. In August 2021, we joined the LEAF coalition. You might have heard about it, lowering emission through accelerating forest finance. This is a consortium of 4 governments now, UK, USA, Norway, and South Korea of recent. And then many private sector companies like MB, NESO, others, airline companies that have brought together about $2 billion to countries for their carbon. So we entered into the arrangement, but we are yet to sign a letter of intent. Next slide. I think I'm under Okay, we submitted the concept note to GCF for the results that I told you in 2022. We are also a member of the National Task Force for Regulation and Guidelines Preparation. And in early 2023, we joined the ArtTrees family, because it provides more assurance for market for carbon credits. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, the ArtTrees, because it gives us assurance. So many people want to buy using this standard. And then, of course, it has a rigorous social safeguards requirement. So, and we are here for that safeguards issue, trying to look at our stakeholder engagement plan. Next slide. And it moves very quickly. So this you'll read for yourself what the art is, but the art is architecture for REDD+ transactions. It's a global voluntary carbon program to register, verify, and issue high-quality REDD+ emissions reduction credits to countries and jurisdictions. The TREES is now the standard. It's the REDD+ Environmental Excellence Standard. So the art is the architecture itself, but it's housed with Winrock. Winrock is one of the companies. It's a private arrangement, but it has gained a lot of interest because of the social safeguard, the strength of social safeguards, dealing with social safeguards, but also many buyers now who want to use it. I think because of the social safeguards, the strength. Next slide. Running through this, just continue. That was a mistake. Just continue. Just want to say that if you are to be eligible for TREES, you must be either a national government or a subnational government. That's what they say. But if subnational, there must be a national approval by, I think, the REDD+ Secretariat or the task force or something. We're trying to discuss that. And it's only until December 31st, 2030 that we shall allow subnational. It will now advance to national governments only. Subnational is like those water management zones, right? So we're just one level below national. So you cannot go below into a sub-catchment. So it's only the management zone and the entire country, because they have a minimum of 2.5 million hectares of forest that they are looking out for. And there's some technical requirements. It says have an audit style validation verification, registration required. There's some legal aspects there. It's forest monitoring reference level setting, accounting. There should be permanence, and the leakage should be accounted for. And uncertainties, of course, should be looked into. Leakage means that sometimes you do intervention here and then you cause emissions in another place. So you move emission from one place to the other. So in addition to the requirements, technical requirements for safeguards, I challenge you to read this. It's available online. Next slide. The cycle is about submitting the TREES concept, which we submitted sometime, I think, 2022. We are somewhere here. The Secretariat has reviewed it, and we are between the approval by the Secretariat and the submissions of the TREES registration document and the initial TREES monitoring report. You'll hear. And I saw the consultant who is supporting us at the REDD+ Secretariat on the TREES monitoring report walking a couple of minutes ago. We are supposed to submit this to the TREES registration document, RD, and the TREES monitoring report to the Secretariat. So this is where we are. We are now preparing this. And we're here basically because your stakeholder identified to have an input into the stakeholder engagement plan for advancing these two main documents. Simple as that. I've made it that simple. So we still have a long way to go. So this can take us as long as 1.5 years or something. I do not know. In some countries, it can take 8 months, depends on the national circumstances. So just around there. We're trying to make sure that this country is ready. In case we get people in the future who want more credits using this standard, then we don't have to start afresh. We just present our, and issuance. Okay, let's continue. All right. So the LEAF, which I talked about, wants to use the ArtTrees as standard, basically for transactions. And when we joined the LEAF countries, then we realized that the ArtTrees standard is becoming very famous and popular. So as a country, we decided to get in, and that's how we're advancing this. It could be used for LEAF, it can be used for anything other than LEAF. So it doesn't matter. We just want the country to be ready for this. I challenge you to read all this and the connection between ArtTrees and LEAF. I just mentioned that it is the standard the leaf want to use for transactions because of its strength in safeguards. You know, many people want to buy from there. You even get more money using certain standard. Next slide. So in terms of safeguard requirements for arteries, I'll just summarize and say, next slide. Next slide, and just I'll only look at this. For those of you who are conversant with the Cancun safeguards, there are 7 Cancun safeguards. They have been broken down into what we call principles for these arteries safeguards requirements. And each of these have again they've been called principles. Each of these 7 principles have been broken down into what we call 16 themes. And there are 3 types of indicators under, which make 44. So for the 16 themes, the number of indicators, but they've been broken down into 3 types of indicators: structure indicators that demonstrate relevant governance arrangements, like policies, laws, institutional arrangements in place in the country. So we assess that. The process indicators demonstrate that relevant institutional mandates, processes, procedures, and all mechanisms are in place and enforced. Outcome indicators demonstrate implementation outcomes. So when we start implementing, we shall be able to develop these outcome indicators. But now we can do futuristic, what we expect to happen, including how outcomes have been identified and how RO will be, and the number of these indicators in some documents. I would challenge you to visit that, or maybe in the plenary sessions we could do something. Next slide. I just want to go to the overview of the support, why we're here actually. Next slide. Okay, so the support, moderator, I hope you'll give me that 1 minute. I'll do my best. We shall have an opportunity for you to ask more questions at the right time. Okay, next slide. Just go to overview. Slide mode, presentation mode. Just continue, move the slides down until, is it frozen or is it just loading? Okay. Unfortunately, not be able to see this, but okay, so kind of this conversation of the arteries and the need for the country to be part of the global community that is employing the arteries as a standard for Red Plus transactions. We received support from the UN Red. I told you it's a consortium of those 3 UN bodies, and each of them has activities to deliver in line with aligning safeguards requirements, safeguards issues to the arteries safeguards requirements. Next slide. We are moving to just continue. These are the slides. We shall share these slides so that people can have a look. We shall not be here for the whole entire morning. Okay, just there. So the UNEP is delivering on exploring and instituting mechanisms to attract private sector upfront financing for Red Plus implementation, as well as some stakeholder engagements in climate financing. So this will be working together with the UNDP to deliver this. They'll also support and strengthen Red Plus safeguards application and reporting. Not will, they have been to some of these. The building capacity of stakeholder and safeguards application aligned with key future standards like the arteries. So there are a lot of capacity building workshops in the past. Some of you have attended, but you see, we invited you here because we also needed some of you who have not like high level, who have not interfaced, to also try and how we've been progressing with this work. But also we intend with the UNEP support finalize safeguards assessment and develop safeguards section for the trees registration document, in addition to the arteries monitoring report. So we there is a safeguard section in that monitoring report and the trees registration document that requires an input, and we've been working on the monitoring report for some time. But there's also a section for carbon accounting, which is the work of the FAO. Next slide. For the UNDP, it will develop a pipeline of forest programs and engage with partners and potential financials to contribute to the our forestry NDC targets, the national determined contributions. You know, Uganda submitted this updated NDC in September 2022, and the NDC has forestry targets for mitigation and adaptation. So the UNDP support will develop pipeline of program that will contribute to that. And then we have some targeted capacity building to enable integration. And we have supporting completion of guideline regulations for carbon and carbon markets under Article 6, which I talked about. And then building additional capacity and application of standards, including ATRIs and voluntary carbon market, supporting dialogues on Uganda's participation in the LEAF, and supporting aligning MRV system with NFMS, and also develop a Red Plus registry. Next slide. For FO, we're improving activity data. We have MRV gap assessment undertaken. We're going to update the file and align with the trees documentation and prepare a final report on public expenditure analysis. It's linked to the data. So we have some work FO has been doing on how to assess, analyze public expenditure for forestry in the country and trying to make some recommendations. It depends a lot on the data. So when you have improved data, then you can do it. And also, of course, improve the framework for nesting in the country, and update a roadmap, targeted capacity building for that payments. Because this is going to be done by all the 3 UN bodies. But so far, the following things have been done. I'm going to just allow me to finish this because that's the most important slide. The following things have been done so far. Next slide. Under the UN Red support. Sorry, that's not okay. We did submit a concept note to the trees concept note. We also have now embarked on, improved on the data. We're calling it high quality data for monitoring, reporting, and verification. We've trained some people on assessing emissions from degradation. We used to have a problem with how to assess emissions from degradation. So that can include degradation as an activity. In the next trial, we're also finalizing the sample points that will undergo second visual interpretation. You see with the data, you go in, look at the data, do ground truthing, go and do additional, look at the sample points that you have picked. We're also implementing what we call a multi-purpose response design in Collect Earth. Collect Earth is a tool, an engine that we use for remote sensing, supports remote sensing. So we are trying to use that in addition to many other things. We also want to update, we have also updated the tree safeguards assessment, and the information, of course, there is going to be used for the trees registration document, which we are submitting this year which we want to complete this year in 2024. The plan of conformance is part of the requirement to, for the trees outcome safeguards indicators. You can't have them now without a plan of conformance because it is futuristic. So what we do call it is a plan of conformance. So we are still doing that work. It is continuing. And of course, this will inform the country's safeguard information system update. The stakeholder engagement plan and draft input for the first trees monitoring report has been done. And now we have a monitoring, a stakeholder engagement plan that we want you to look at so that we can complete the safeguards, so this is the stakeholder engagement plan for this process. We've also, of course, supported the regulations and guidelines preparation. The draft is available. We're undergoing the last bits, and we hope to launch those regulations and guidelines in the coming weeks. There's also been there was a 2-week training on MRV tools and application to AFOLO. AFOLO is the one of the chapters, okay, if I may say, as we are reporting to doing national communications, as we are doing GHG reporting. And that is agriculture, forest, and other land use. We've been able to train people to do that because we support as Red Plus the contribution of data to the AFOLO, which is the key chapter as we assess our GHGs. Next slide, I think we are concluding now. Next slide, sir. I see loading. That should have been the last slide. I can actually stop there. Okay. So the theme 4.1, which is, we didn't look at it in detail because I didn't want to spend a lot of time there because I said How many things? 16 things. So 4.1 is coming from a Cancun Safeguard 4, which is looking at stakeholder engagement, making sure that the rights of indigenous people, the rights of other stakeholders are taken into consideration. So that thing 4.1 is to respect, protect, and fulfill the rights of relevant stakeholders to participate in the design and implementation of RED+ actions. And that is what brings us here, because we developed a stakeholder engagement plan for that purpose. There are people who have looked at that plan at lower levels, and we felt that some of you whom we are calling high level, because indeed you are, unless you don't feel that you are. But we think that, because somebody said, but am I high level? I think I said, but you are, because if you are representing your institution, you have been sent here by your ED, you're the ED at the moment. But so we think that your input into this stakeholder engagement plan is extremely important for us, because it is going to define how we engage you and other people in the future on this at-risk subject. You can see how I've just rushed through this. We need to speak to you a little bit more on this at-risk. If the moderator gives us some chance in the plenary, she'll be able to explain a little bit more than what we have said. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, point person. It's been a month. It calls for us to do a lot of reading, so many abbreviations, so many terminologies that you also needed to borrow my minutes to express, explain, and inform us. However, let's give him another round of applause. From our time, but we shall always find ways. One, I believe we all have notepads on your tables. Can I get questions for what you need clarified, elaborated, elucidated from the focal point person? Why? Because we are already into our break time, and yet we need those clarifications. Mr. Haddad will collect them. Time for them. Can we write all on the pieces of paper? And for those of us who do not usually come to these high standard level places, when you roll down the steps, yes, then you'll find some room there, even for you to get a bit comfortable. Understand. Feel free. There is a Wi-Fi code there. It's not to distract you from the focus of the meeting, or else I'll pull it out so that we can concentrate on what we are doing. I've said that apologetically. Then too, there is the choice between nature. SC, if you feel, I'll use that. I'm not going to summarize the points from the presentation, but I'm not seeing people writing on the note. Expect questions, comments, clarification, which should have been our plenary session. I'll suggest that as we write that, we are going to have a photo session. Then our tea must be ready at the back. We shall be moving a few two people, and we shall have a working tea. I'm trying to catch up. Thank you. I'm trying to catch up with time, so we shall be moving slowly so that we don't crowd in the place after we have taken the photo session, because some people are getting high-level phone calls because they are from high-level offices and they might disappear before we account for their presence here. So I kindly request that I'm not seeing people writing. I'm standing, I'm tall, but I'm not seeing people writing. Whoever comes for the photo session, I want a piece of paper here. Can you come and take a photograph, please? Accountability.com error, phones, yeah, outside. It should be outside. Then I'm going to stand at the end. I pick my papers, okay? But there are these, what are these called? Team organizer, Emily, can we get them? But I'm still asking for my lady in, can you pick some papers for the questions, concerns, and clarifications that the focal point person is going to give us? However, he has quite elaborated everything. There are so many abbreviations, sir. That calls for us who are going to change to Ugandans who have a reading culture. This is a diverse subject and we are asked for figures, for data. They even ask these people who are the below subnational. I wanted to follow that up. Let me leave that subject. They ask us for facts. Should we breathe? Are they going to charge us? What are we emitting? How much are we emitting? What tree is emitting what? And as technocrats, we have not been able to answer this. Members, foresters, this is time for you to show your values to the climatic changes that are going on. And are we ready? I'm buying time. Can you pick those papers? Table minimum 6. And I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've stopped there. But in the interest of time, so can we get moving outside? We get a photo session, then we shall come back. We pick tea as we get those questions answered. So I'm still insisting, don't put your name, please, but I'll count the numbers of the sheets. Dear handwriting, don't worry, I'll be able to read. Questions, clarifications, don't ask for abbreviations, you are going to read. There is an acronym page at the beginning of the concept. Can you get moving? We are time bad. Or you'll leave here later than the program states. Okay, I'm leading the team. Then I'll pick the other papers myself. Have you written? Hope. Please, you. Aren't you Hope? Yes, you introduced yourself. JB. At least someone is writing. Where is yours?
No, I understood.
You add. Understood. Because you are for a sector support team. Understood.
Yes.
Your names were very complicated. Smanyanja what? Have you? Is that mine? Thank you. Thank you. Good. You understood. Nobody has given. Banang only 3. Okay, thanks. Let's go for the photo session. Good, thank you. Okay. So who is the photo? Photo.
No, you're standing in between.
Consultant and consult. Thank you. Is this going to give us an that is what exactly are you doing? The banner should be at the edges. The banner, someone let us know.
We are holding, so we have to hold.
Oh, sorry. That's the Kinji. Basua. Back. Okay, good. Are you? What's happening? Is that okay? Yeah. Can we go? Oh, you're done. I've received the papers, so can we be picking some tea quickly and we sit? I don't want questions. Just say question.
I had
Okay, you can write. I'm coming for it.
on the part of huh?
Your boss.
Two things. Bring back our phones. Next.
Fine.
Sorry. So welcome members. Thank you for the photo session. Choka people who don't listen to my instructions. I said two people. I don't want a crowd at the table. They're hungry. Okay, those ones are the ones who are standing. Then we shall proceed in groups. Meanwhile, excuse me, please. I'll read through the questions. Our presenter, who is our best, some of us might fear asking you questions. Where is Mr. Person? Thank you. Yeah, my glasses. Yeah, he needs to. Where is one place that we can get information on Red Plus? Someone help me. You talked about sensitization. Hello? The break is for Mr. Augusta Chinji. Can you come and sit near me here so that you help me read out these questions? Thank you, Amma. Yes, I'm the facilitator and I'm participatory in nature. So I am kindly requesting. Members, pick a couple of questions. The presenter is back. And I was wondering why it was not yet. I think I'm someone who is you're all welcome. Those of you who care to their names, we write so that you can find your names. In the meantime, I love the silence, meaning that we are listening. Clarification from the presentation.
Once again, I will have to read these questions, but probably they are directed to Mr. Bob Kazungu. And Mr. Kazungu, you have to answer all these questions unless they are comments. The first one is, how often is the FRAIL baseline updated? How often is the FRAIL baseline updated? I think that is very clear. The second question is, when is the biennial transparency report? When is the biennial transparency report work and workshop? When is the biennial transparency report and workshop? This one is a comment. You don't have to answer this one, and I think this one was from my table. Thank you for the presentation. We had the audacity to thank you. We are the only people that thanked you. The other one is, as you develop the regulation on policies for carbon trade, please confirm that you are able to give interim approvals for those carbon projects under development. I repeat, as you develop the regulation and policies for carbon trade, please confirm that you are able to give interim approvals for carbon projects under development. The next question is, how are RED Plus activities qualified? How are RED Plus activities qualified? The other one is, where is one place that we can get, where can we get information about RED? Yeah, this, I mean, I simplified it in that way. Where can we get RED information? The next question is, you talked about sensitization and creating awareness, yes? Are you creating it to the high-level people, or which medium are you using? Are you creating this information? Are you creating sensitization and awareness for high-level people? Which medium are you using? I think he's talking about targeted audience to this meeting. Mr. Commissioner, please explain more on the pending carbon units you talked about in your report. Carbon units, carbon credits, it's not clear. Please explain more on the pending carbon units you talked about. And two, you also talked about beneficiaries of carbon markets at national and subnational. How about companies and individuals? Yes, how about companies and individuals that are not do not fall in the categories of national and subnational? I would like to thank Madam Rebecca for choosing me to read these questions.
So much. Gasta, can you please sit near me here after you picked your cup of tea for some reasons best known to me? Members, I'm trying to catch up with time. We're supposed to be done with tea break. I've got a few minutes and I'm going to let him answer. When it is exactly 11, you stop. That is according to the program. So prioritize. Thank you.
I think I saw, and thanks a lot for the questions. They are 9 in number. No, they're actually not 9. I think they are 8 because one was a comment. Yeah, maybe I start with the last one. The beneficiaries of maybe the carbon credits, maybe that's what you mean. We already talked about national and subnational, or about the companies and individuals. I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't very clear, but these beneficiaries cut across both the investors themselves, because if somebody invests in a carbon project, then they ought to receive a return. It's business, so that return is part of the benefit that they can get. If an individual decides to, enter into an arrangement to transact using his estate with a natural forest or plantation forest, that can be defined as the beneficiary. In addition to the other communities, we include local communities adjacent to those estates, but also Ugandans who who make a contribution, because when we get these resources as a country, somehow they trickle down, but also the communities that are directly involved in implementation of these carbon projects, whether they are collaborative forest management groups, collaborative resource management, whether they're just communities adjacent to estates, things like that. The other issue is on the pending. I think you're talking about the credits that the results that we submitted in 2020 for 2015, 2017. We did the only window that was available for us, which seemed to be a better opportunity or window, was the GCF, Green Climate Fund. The Green Climate Fund has basically about two windows for financing. One of the windows is the regular GCF development window where projects are implemented that are aligned themselves to the GCF requirements and scorecard and things like that, like the famous wetlands GCF project that you know of and other GCF projects that we've been having in the country. But we also have a window for REDD+ specific to REDD+ resource-based payments. So if there are REDD+ credits in the country, they can actually be be given or sold to the GCF. And it's usually vintage. Okay, if I use the word vintage, maybe you'll get me. It's sort of like old or previous credit. So those credits are saying pending carbon credits. We still presented the concept to the GCF for as long as they approve the concept. In Africa, I think there was Uganda, Ghana, and another country, but there were other countries in South America who were interested. And of course, they have been redefining the scorecard for the other phase, because the other phase for which we submitted this concept ended with about $500 million. It was consumed by mainly countries in South America. But we also we thought we'd get part of that money, which ended in 2022, but we didn't. So we agreed, we negotiated with GCF that they include Uganda in the next phase without necessarily us writing another concept. So there have been back and forth negotiations. Africa is represented on the board by Gabon and Ghana, if I'm to remember, I think. So I've been with those negotiators in different meetings, and we've negotiated, and we hope to get some money for those credits. But you see, the global decision sometimes can be taken up by events. The medium of use for sensitization, and who are the targeted audiences? Maybe he's trying to refer to that, maybe not, but it's like, for example, this kind of workshop, we are looking at the stakeholder engagement plan and trying to get your input, but also building some bit of awareness and sensitizing you in a number of things. These kind of questions are also one way of sensitizing. So this is one way. We have a website which we are trying to beef up with the ministry website. When you go in, you look for REDD, you look for FSSD. We're trying to beef up that. Even the NFL website has a couple of information on REDD. If you don't find it there, maybe it's because our IT people have not yet placed it there, but we can just cross-check and see. So those are the different, of course, there are documents available, briefs on REDD and how far we've gone. All of these are also available, or will be available. We're trying to print additional materials for us to be able to people to read. But as we normally say, we must read. This subject of carbon, you have to read whether you like it or not. You can get information from the website, from the REDD+ Secretariat. There is a team. We're trying to dedicate people specific to support the REDD+ Secretariat, which is housed within the department. We're trying to dedicate staff so that at any one point they are available in case you need information about REDD+. So the Secretariat, which is in the Forestry Sector Support Department, which is of the Ministry of Water and Environment, is one place that you can get information about REDD+. The website is also there. You just want to see that it has latest or updated information. How are RED Plus activities qualified? I didn't understand this, but maybe I don't know. But RED Plus activities, the 5, the reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, including sustainable forest management and enhancement of carbon stocks. I don't know what you mean by qualified, but for as long as those activities meet the other requirements of the WOSO in one or the other, then we can call them RED Plus. If you have a baseline for what those activities are delivering in terms of emission reductions, if you have, so as long as they meet the other WOSO elements to a great extent, then maybe we can qualify them as the RED Plus activities. Otherwise, you might be doing what called IFM, improved forest management, or IRR, or ARR, afforestation, reforestation, and vegetation, and you think it is RED activity. So the WOSO element is a key yardstick to use. As with work regulation, please confirm that you're able to give interim. I'm not the one who steers this regulation thing. It is steered by the climate change department. However, being on the task force, this has been discussed, but we didn't come up with really a conclusion on whether we can give a partial approval. But that is something which was a yes with most of the majority of the task force members, because we have civil society that are involved in developing carbon projects and have been waiting for over a year now. It's coming to a year, I think, since we started talking about the regulations and guidelines. So this question keeps coming up. I wouldn't want to commit myself that we can give a partial, because that requires the team, a certain team at the climate change department, and myself, I'm normally called to do that, to be able to assess whether this can go for a partial approval. And the schedule for that approval, which is the function of the minister, is also available in the draft regulations. It provides guidance on how, on what you need to do, on the kind of approval that you can get. But I can't commit myself that you can now come today and give you a partial, because that would be saying too much. The biannual transparency report is every 2 years, but it's just like it says, biannual, BIE, biannual, every 2 years. But the transparency, because of the transparency requirements, Article 13 of the Paris Agreement calls for transparency, for us to meet transparency requirements. Issues of information data being quality assured, and people confirming that information you are giving for baselines and the like is information that everybody has access to. It has been done in a transparent manner, in addition to other transparency requirements. And the FREL, interesting, but the FREL, you see, depends on the country. If you have a lot of work, a lot of activity, you can update your baseline. If you have all that it takes, you can update it other than when. There's some UN guidance on that, UNFCCC guidance on that, but largely the national circumstances influence quite a lot. So I cannot say 2 years or every 3 years, but you see, because of what happens with forest data, people can say maybe every 5 years, maybe we'll do better. But that guidance is also actually being revisited by UNFCCC because of the improved technology and have this information quickly. So it's something that I think the country can agree. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bob Kazungu. People are munching. I don't want to teach them bad manners. I appreciate you on behalf of the members. Okay. So thank you so much. That was efficient for us. And I think I've caught up by my time. It's 11 sharp. As per the program of the day, I take the honor to welcome the consultant. The program gives 30 minutes. Please emphasize where the stakeholders need to understand and show their input. I want to welcome Madam Christine Batusa to come and present. I hope the laptop is set with a present. And please, let's continue with the same design and put down our clarities and things on the paper in the interest of time. Yes, JB. Can you write that question, please? Thank you. I'll discuss. Put it down.
Thank you so much, moderator. My name is Christine Batusa. I've been supporting the development of the stakeholder engagement plan that I'm going to present to you this morning. Like I have been asked, I will not go so much into details. You all have the draft engagement plan. So I will request you to refer to the document as I take you through the key areas to focus on and where we need your input. For this meeting, we need much of the input on the action plan, as well as the roles and responsibilities. So I'll try to dwell much on that for this morning. Thank you. So we have the background, like the commissioner noted. Uganda joined the Global Voluntary Carbon Program, and that is where we are part of the RED, the Art Trees standards. And one of the requirements of the tree standards is to show conformity or demonstrate that we meet the requirements of the Cancun safeguards. And from the safeguards, you've seen 4.1, indicating that we need to show one of the conformity, how we respect the rights of the stakeholders and how we engage them in the safeguards for RED. So this plan was prepared with assistance from the UN RED, technical assistance for safeguards in Uganda. The SEP has been prepared as a backdrop of the Art Trees call for recognition, respect, protection, and fulfillment of the right of all stakeholders to participate fully in the design and implementation of RED+. So it also seeks to ensure that participants have in place procedures that recognize, respect, and protect the rights of all stakeholders. So we go to the next. We have the objectives of the objective and purpose of this stakeholder engagement plan. One is to facilitate, the purpose is to facilitate effective engagement of the relevant stakeholders in the design and implementation of safeguards actions, as well as in the monitoring and reporting on the Art Trees safeguards and leaf processes. So that is the purpose. It is mainly effective participation of all stakeholders, those that are in this room and all those that you're representing. Then the objective is to identify the relevant stakeholders and their roles. To promote, the second one is to promote effective involvement and participation of those in the safeguards. And third is to promote gender sensitive and participatory processes. And lastly, to promote monitoring and reporting. How did we develop this SEP? We conducted a literature review where we did review a desk review of the reports and then the strategies and the policies to see how they speak about stakeholder engagement and how we can bring them on board in the implementation of the RED safeguards. Then we did stakeholder consultations. We held national and regional capacity workshops. We had them last year in October and November, as well as December. There were 3. And for the purpose of this SEP, you may define the stakeholder as someone with a stake or interest or right in the forest and may be affected either negatively or positively by RED activities. So this is a definition that has been adopted from the Forest Carbon Partnership guidelines on stakeholder engagement of 2012. So we look at the elements of this stakeholder engagement plan, drawing from the objectives of why. First of the elements, we have the principles of engagement, and one we are looking at equity and non-discrimination. This is where if we are doing red activities, the safeguards should be cognizant of the gender, ethnicity, and the race of the different groups of people. So none of those should be discriminated based on their gender, ethnicity, or race. Then inclusion and respect of diverse perspectives. In terms of the knowledge of the feedback, none of the stakeholders' feedback or perspective should be left out, but all should be considered in the design and implementation of red activities, depending on how the different groups are affected and how they are contributing to the projects. Then transparency. This is where we have to ensure feedback and sharing of information in a transparent manner to inform the stakeholders of how their actions, of how their concerns in the different red activities are going to be considered or addressed in the projects that are being implemented. Then trust. Here, we envisage that as we engage the stakeholders, we must be consistent, we must bear integrity so that we pick their trust from the audience for whom we are delivering. Then culture of dialogue. As we engage with the different stakeholders in the safeguards, we need to ensure that we dialogue at all time, we get feedback and then share how the different issues are being addressed or they are going to be handled. With the next slide. Then another element is on the stakeholder analysis, where we did stakeholder categories, and these were based mainly on those that are affected and those that are interested. So on the affected groups of people, all stakeholders or actors, we have the formal and informal forest users, we have the private sector entities, we have the civil society, we have the indigenous people, the forest dependent communities, culture-based organization or leaders, collaborative forest management groups. Then those that might be interested, we have the local government officials, we have the political leaders, the academia, the development partners, and also the private sector. So that is how we've categorized. Then we've gone ahead to do a stakeholder mapping. So when you look at the document, we have a list of stakeholders, but then these have been wrapped up with their roles and responsibility. So we did a categorization based on 7. We have the development partners, and among those, like you heard, that this UN RED program is being implemented by those 3 agencies. So we have the UNDP, we have FAO, and we have UNEP, and it is good that we have all these representatives here. So what would their roles be in the safeguards? They will provide technical and financial support towards stakeholder engagements and climate change issues and RED. We did consultations like I indicated in the methodology, and we got the ideas from those consultations. We met some of them, actually all of them, and that is the feedback, but we shall elaborate in the action plan. Then the FAO will provide technical assistance, capacity and support in implementing sustainable forest management. Then UNEP provide technical assistance on RED plus safeguard, including development of the trees assessment and monitoring report. This has been alluded to by Mr. Kazungu. Then support capacity building on tree safeguards for RED plus action. Next. For those that we did not really directly visit, and that is why we need your input. We're based on the mandates that you have as ministries, departments, and agencies to come up with your roles and responsibilities. So when you look at the second tier of categories of stakeholders, we have the central government ministries, departments, and agencies. Here we have the Ministry of Water and Environment, but we make specific emphasis to the Climate Change Department and the Forest Sector Support Department. Their role here would be to support formulation of forest policies, laws, and regulations, like you've heard about the carbon market regulations that are being developed by the Climate Change Department. Then oversight role on the overall coordination of the RED activities, then strengthen institutional capacity on the safeguards, undertake monitoring and reporting on the RED activities, those biannual reports, then monitoring. This is where we have them developing the ART-TREE safeguards monitoring report and the safeguards information system and registries. Then monitoring, reporting, and verification of the emissions. I know the department is developing an MRV. So those are some of the roles for those the Ministry of Water and Environment, but those two specific departments. Then we have the Ministry of Finance. Derived from the mandate, they would mobilize funds and other resources that support RED Plus interventions and also meeting the requirements of safeguards in the country. Then ensure plans and budgets and resource allocation adheres to the safeguard requirements. Then you have the forest, National Forest Authority. Their role is to promote sustainable management and conservation of forests, mapping national forest monitoring, managing the forest monitoring system, then produce land use data, and also update emissions factor used in RED Plus activities. The next. Still under government ministries, we have Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. So their role here would be to undertake initiatives for conservation of natural forests. Then the Ministry of Agriculture implements safeguard activities, including review and validation of policies, plans, and strategies to ensure that these integrate RED Plus aspects. Then also provide information on agriculture and forest interface. Then we have the Uganda Wildlife Authority. Their role is to promote sustainable management and conservation of forests in national parks. Next. We have NEMA. Their role is to enforce environment and impact assessment regulations, undertake capacity building programs on safeguards, and also align RED Plus safeguards to the existing frameworks. For example, there is the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. Then also integrate these actions in the National State of Environment Report. So that serves as one of the platform or an entry point to report to the public or the stakeholders on how we are actually meeting our requirements of safeguards. Then the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Here the role is to provide laws for effective national forest governance. Then provide legal advisory services. We know a lot of conflicts, a lot of fights come along with the development of establishing these projects. Okay, so we have the Ministry of Local Government. Their role is to actually do the oversight role for governance structures at the local level. We'll go to the next slide. My time is fast spent. Then I think I should just, how best can I maximize? Okay, so we have the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and their role is to enforce laws and also mitigate conflicts. Then we have the Ministry of Lands. Their role is to handle issues of land tenure systems. Then we have the Ministry of Gender, support integration of the rights of vulnerable groups, gender and social aspects, and also supervise how these have been integrated. Then we have Parliament. They play a key role in enacting laws and also advocate for RED activities, as well as ensure transparency and accountability. We have the Uganda Human Rights Commission. We have the Office of the Prime Minister as those key examples under the government ministries. Then we have the Uganda Land Commission, and those are their roles. Then at the district level, we have the district natural resource officers and the district forest officers. And their role is actually to implement these policies, mainstream RED+ activities into their development plans, the district development plans, as well as do monitoring, reporting, and ensure equitable sharing of the benefits from RED activities. We go to the next. Then we have the rural sector and ranger managers. These participate in the monitoring and reporting as well as share information at that level. Then the district land boards, they also handle issues of land. Then the Uganda Land Commission, all those at that level, the lower level. Then we have the local communities. Here we have the indigenous groups. We did disaggregate them into the Batwa, the Bennett. Those are the ones that we need to consider as we engage in the safeguards activities. And they actually provide conservation of sustainable management of forest. They contribute knowledge on management. They provide the indigenous knowledge in the conservation. And also their role is to participate in the design because they do provide knowledge. Then monitor, they can be key players in monitoring and also promoting accountability. And they are also entitled to the benefits from these activities. Next. We have the civil society organizations. For those that we may leave out and you might suggest them. We have EcoTrust, we have Wildlife, the WWF. We have Wildlife Conservation Society, then IUCN and Culture Foundation. They were mapped out because they have activities that they have been implemented in regard to RED+. And they are all okay. So we have the private sector. We mapped out Usoga Forest Company, New Forest Company, Uganda Timber Growers. Then for the academia, we have Makerere University, Nyabyeya Forest College. We have National Forest Resource Research Institute, Uganda National Council of Science and Technology. Then the media, we have Daily Monitor, Water and Environment Media, and I'm glad some of them are here. So, and the media is to share information and publicize and also establish the status of how RED+ is actually respecting the rights of the different stakeholders. We go to the next. The assumption is that you read the roles. So we have the structures. Here a few are highlighted, but in the report we have a full table indicating the structures that are existing for stakeholder engagement. At the national level, we have the climate, we have the policy committee on environment hosted by NEMA, and this is provided for in the National Environment Act of 2019. Then we have the Climate Change Advisory Committee under the Ministry of Water and Environment. It is also provided for under the National Climate Change Act and Policy. Then we have the Water and Environment Sector Working Group. Currently, they are referred to as program from sector. Then we have the RED+ strategy that provides for a multi-stakeholder dialogue. A number of more are there in the plan. So you might need to refer to them in the plenary and make more suggestions. Then you have the non-government structures. We have the ENRCSO that hosts an umbrella organization to civil society working on environment issues. Then you have the Uganda Forest Working Group. And then we have the Climate Action Network as an umbrella or organization for civil societies working on climate-related issues. So those are some of the structures for engaging stakeholders as we implement the safeguards. Engagement techniques, these cut across. We have the development partners, majorly formal meetings, then one-on-one interviews, and virtual engagements. Then for government, we have emails, one-on-one, formal meetings, private sector, phone, email, focus group meetings, and also workshops. Next. Then the academia, phone, email, text message, one-on-one, focus group meetings, workshops. Then the civil society, still the same. Then the indigenous people, here we have the print media, text messaging, the RED talk shows and announcements, because we know at the lower level, the radios have penetrated more compared to the social media. Then we have the public meetings, focus group meetings, and also surveys. Okay, so gender participatory approach. Here we are looking at how to make RED Plus implementation gender responsive. So the first thing to do, which is actually is to identify affected gender groups or the umbrella organizations that the projects can work with, then dialogue and share information, then identify potential risks for the different gender categories, and then create capacity on the safeguards, then be able to come up with a gender sensitive conflict and grievance mechanism. Another element of elements, we have monitoring, reporting, and grievance mechanism. Under monitoring, we have the safeguards information system. This is an opportunity for the country to report on how the projects are meeting the safeguards and how they are bringing on board the different stakeholders. Then at the project level, a targeted stakeholder monitoring plan could be developed and regular check on the communication with stakeholders. Then grievance, there is already a feedback and grievance redress mechanism that you can make reference to. Then for resource to implement the SEP will be the FSSD will provide an oversight role in the implementation of this, but working with the different stakeholders, including the development partners, as has been highlighted. Okay, so there we have the action plan. How many more minutes? I have 8. 5. Okay, well, the action plan now, where we need you to tell us of what you're doing, what could be missing, what report that you will not do, which documents we can look up to, and okay, can you enlarge? So that is the action plan. We have the stakeholder, the actions, the engagement technique, and the time frame. Please enlarge. So we have the UNDP, and their actions is to facilitate stakeholder engagement during the validation of the project idea notes and development of carbon markets regulation and guidelines. That is the feedback we got. Then facilitate stakeholder engagement on LEAF. The timeline, okay, let me focus on the actions. Then we have thorough design frameworks and train stakeholders on forest monitoring and emission tracking. This will be through establishment of the functional national MRV systems on emissions. Then we have UNEP, provide technical and financial support to stakeholder consultative and capacity engagements. I have already indicated that so many, 3 of the capacity building engagements were conducted last year, and this also serves as one of them. And then develop the stakeholder engagement plan, which we are consulting on today. Then also the initial trees monitoring report, as we indicated, we already have a consultant doing this. Then the stakeholder engagements on LEAF. So those are the actions that UNEP is going to undertake. Then when we come to the climate change department and FSSD, their actions to facilitate stakeholder engagement in formulation and review of forest policies. We know the forest policy is currently under review. So to see how this addresses the safeguards and highlight structures for engagement of the different stakeholders in forest sustainable management. Then undertake institutional capacity strengthening. We already had comments on how they are doing it, how they are building the technical capacity for the high level. So this is one of their action points. Develop the stakeholder engagement plan, which we've developed and we are consulting on. Then coordinate stakeholders on RED Plus implementation and also monitor, report, and verify emissions. Then for NFA, provide data and information on national forest, produce land use data, update emission factors used in REDD+ actions and also mainstream REDD+ safeguards in forest management plans. Next. Okay, so finance to facilitate stakeholder engagements in budget reviews. Then Ministry of Energy facilitates stakeholder engagement in the development and implementation of strategies on biomass, because those are alternatives to reduce the degradation of forests. Then MAIF provide information on relevant stakeholders on agriculture and forest interface, then integrate the safeguards in sectoral policies, plans, and strategies. Then we have WUA, disseminate information to promote public education, share information on REDD+ safeguards in line with wildlife conservation, and establish standards and regulations for conservation. Then NEMA will undertake capacity programs on safeguards, align REDD+ to the existing frameworks like the NABSAB, and also do monitor and regulate REDD+ actions. We can go to the local government. The local government will ensure REDD+ safeguards are integrated in district development plans, coordinate the implementation of REDD+ safeguards by relevant actors. Then Ministry of Lands facilitates stakeholder engagement on land tenure systems and related issues, such as eviction of communities from the natural resources, as well as compensation modalities. Then Labour support integration of rights of the vulnerable groups, supervise involvement of those. Then Parliament monitor and promote accountability on safeguards implementation. OPM, okay. OPM supervise the involvement of refugees in the safeguards process and actions. Then at the district level, we have the district natural resources. They will integrate the safeguards in their development plans, the district development plans. We have the local communities, now the indigenous people. The action is to conserve and sustainably manage forests, which contribute to REDD+ activities and contribute valuable knowledge. So it is very important to always consult with them. And they have indigenous knowledge that can facilitate the projects. Then civil society. Civil society, their action is to undertake awareness, mobilize communities to participate in safeguards, as well as participate in trade of REDD+ credits and carbon credits. Then the academia, collect information, share information about REDD+, okay, for effective implementation. Then the media, to inform the people, publicize the safeguards. Next. Is that all? Okay. Okay, I was racing with time. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to your input. The good thing, you have the document, and I think you've spent some good time to read. Thank you.
So much, our consultant. Can you give her another applause? She has ably managed her time. I was trying to save a minute or two to get the question concern from John Begumana, but I don't know where he's seated. Can you please precise to the point? What was your concern? He's back. And members, I don't want us to leave any stone unturned. Let's use the other approach in the interest of time. In case you have not gotten your hand up to speak, we shall still get your concerns shared. Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, Bob, you opened up a can of worms. When you say that Uganda might qualify to get results-based payment, that implies that according to the REDD methodology, we have either reduced on the rate of deforestation or we have increased the rate of afforestation and deforestation. Now, when we get these results-based payments, and we're in a safeguards meeting, and we are in a safeguards meeting, Who is the beneficiary? How do we share those resources, or where do we invest them? It is a serious safeguards issue. Since all members are here and we're in a safeguards meeting, I would request, you may not have the answers today, but we might need a meeting to discuss this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JB. At least that has gone off his chest, and I think it's pertinent. Usually the sharing gets the problematic side and people might keep quiet, yet they feel aggrieved, and then the repercussions of climate change will not segregate. Thank you so much for the presentation. She was elaborate and clear. The tables are okay, the roles were clear, the players are there, what was missed out, what should be included, what should be tuned, what roles have been left out, which players have been left out, or what actions can we add on? Can we have by a show of hands? Number one, are you okay? Number two, and please don't tell stories. 3 and 4.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, the consultant, for presenting a wonderful document. It was so well elaborate, but I have a few comments I want to add on it. When you go to the section, page 7, I'm going to use the document hard copy. You mentioned the Rio Conventions, climate change, CBD, and then land degradation. Yeah. But you didn't add the principal instrument at national level, which is the NBSAP, the National Biodiversity Strategy Action Plan. Please mention it, because further as you go to the document, you mention the responsible institution to implement it. But the goal is to have biodiversity conservation, management, utilization, and fair sharing of its benefits by 2025. Then when you move ahead, there's an area saying the responsible institutions, UNDP, you only mention climate issues. Please add biodiversity issues. Biodiversity leads to climate issues. So they're interlinked and closely related. Then that is page 11. Then when you move ahead to that same table on the academia, the universities, please also add something related to research and development. Currently, the university, Makerere University, has a university innovation pod. It's called the Unipod. We do request that you expose and explore that area so that they have opportunities to explore on forest innovation that is being undertaken by the country. And then lastly, the issue of gender. That is page 22. We request you add youth and emphasize especially youth issues. As you said, it's only limited, they have challenges, but limited to the following. We do see men, women mentioned, and then also you promote participatory approach on RED+ processes. You mentioned youth groups, but be more elaborate on having youth, because they're the transition. They move from children to young people, and the percentage of youth in this country need to really be prioritized, because as we move ahead, the encroachers will become the young people again, and then knowledge needs to be enhanced among the youth. So we need to emphasize the youth in this document. I think that is it for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the document. At the beginning, you described who a stakeholder is, who has a stake, who has an interest, and so on and so forth. I think it would be useful when you are talking about stakeholder level of engagement to refer to where those people belong, so that the level of engagement is fit for purpose, and also the technique of engagement is fit for purpose. If a stakeholder is to be informed, then radio announcement and what have you serves the purpose. But if it's to be consulted, then it's a different type of engagement. And also if it's to participate in decision making. So it would be nice to categorize these stakeholders according to their stake with those levels of engagement so that we can then assess whether the techniques are indeed appropriate for that type of stakeholder to meet that level of engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I share your comments on stakeholder engagements. I won't get back to those. I just thought it would have been good somewhere for a new person reading this document for there to have been a definition of the safeguards. We keep referring to them throughout the presentations, but what are they for somebody who is approaching the conversation for the first time? Secondly, on page 15 now, had a comment for the hard copy document. Those civil society organizations there, you could include New Forest Foundation. I don't know why you didn't come to us, consult us about these things, because we are actually in the process of developing a carbon project for 3 years, and these things are important. We have been engaging with the ministry about that. And the private sector, I think it is very important to specifically acknowledge the sector of certified commercial forest companies. They are not just loggers. They are an important category in that because they subscribe to certain best practices that are promoted both nationally and internationally, and they are going to be important in driving the issues, especially compliance, voluntary compliance, but also responsible forestry management, which feeds into the issues that we are discussing here. At that point, we'll still come to page 17, I think, where you have again left them out. Because I think the idea is to promote people to up their towards certification. Thank you.
And what's your name? I didn't hear you introduce yourself, or my head had run out a bit.
Apologies, I came late. I think that's what was it.
I didn't say that.
My name is Alex Chabawan. I'm the Chief Impacts Officer for the New Forest Company.
Welcome. And even the one who talked of the youth is...
My name is Pauline Nantongo Kalunda. I'm from EcoTrust. Thank you.
Welcome. And then the UNDP also made some comments.
My name is Monica and I work with UNDP.
Thank you very much. By that action, as you speak, please introduce yourself first. Thank you.
Okay, I think I introduced myself earlier.
Please.
But again, I'm Kato Gabriel. I work with Ministry of Water and Environment. I have a concern about previous redress. I don't feel it has come out very well in the action plan for stakeholders. It's mentioned in the draft and the hint on the role of local governments and local councils, but I don't feel it has come out very well in the action plan for stakeholders. I was scanning through the different stakeholders who could be involved. And I know a lot of work has been done at ministry level from the department where I come from, which was also not mentioned. Environment sector support services. So I think,
for example,
I think, pardon?
For example,
at which part?
The work that you have done in the ministry where you are that has not been included.
Yes, I know we participated in, if you go to page 23, page 24. We say we've developed a feedback and grievance redress mechanism for the Red Plus in 2016, and I know that our department participated a lot in that. Yes.
These are not the additions.
Thank you.
Are we in agreement? Enriching what the presenter, what the consultant has presented. And I'm glad that people have begun reading page by page. Martha, wait. Okay. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. You also have the action plan. You elaborately read through the basic document, but there is also the action plan. I don't know if the consultant has anything. Let's take the positive inclusions as enriching, but you can also reduce because finances are always limiting, and it might be that you are doing, they talked of a database and we do not want to replicate because we just need to amalgamate what we are doing and then do meaningful reporting. So I don't know, consultant, do you have anything to respond to, or we take it? Additions? Where's the other mic, please? And then as you look through the action plan, we shall begin with Martha. You can add, you can reduce. Please introduce yourself as you speak.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. I'm Christine Batusa, supporting the development of the stakeholder engagement plan that has been presented. I thank you all for your comments. From my point of view, these have been really comments, not questions. So just to inform you that we are going to consider this and integrate them in the plan. Thank you.
Round 2, Martha. Number 2, Jerome. Number 3, Xavier. Number 4, Harriet. Number 5. Yes, you're going to say something. At least you'll appreciate the presenter.
That's number 1.
Martha. Martha, number 2 is Jerome. Number 3 is Xavier. Number 4 is Harriet. You'll be, no. Yeah, you'll be number 6. Let me see.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to add my thanks to the consultant and also to the team that has been developing this. From our side, from the spatial perspective, I think the consultant has captured in part what is expected of the ministry, but I would like to inform the members that the land tenure systems are now hinged on the plans, the spatial plans, because tenure is provided through a planned approach. The National Physical Development Plan now guides on where tenure can be placed. So the element that I would like to add to this requirement here on the list of stakeholders is that we need to integrate forest land use, either by nature or by environmental protection need, into the spatial planning processes. That is the contribution we shall be able to make. But without referring to without referring to spatial planning as an entry point or as a link into this program, then we are left out. So I request that under the legal frameworks or the policy frameworks, the land use regulatory framework is added as one of those frameworks that support the formulation of these programs, so that we can then, as stakeholders, be anchored into supporting this program.
Sorry, I'm the one who understands list. What is your indulgence right now with the forestry land use management guidance instruction in your spatial units as Minister of Lands?
As lands, we are required to map out.
Or have you mapped out?
And I think we have mapped on our side what we know, but the forest experts know even better. That's why I use the word integrate.
Yeah,
we need to have an integral process of these land uses so that we update, because our mandate is to have the land uses captured. We update all of those on your behalf.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from NFA? I didn't hear an introduction from NFA. Do we have anybody from NFA? And their roles have been put organizers, Minister of Water, please not. NFA has a function they're supposed to, you don't know where I come from, but they have a function they're supposed to do. And it's supposed to be annual. Now people are agreeing. Let me go from this table. I am a facilitator. NFA have a function they're supposed to do. And I don't know whether they were invited, Mr. Commissioner, sir. Forestry sector support, NFA is kind of overseen by you there, an agency, the land use maps. And these people, now let me not talk a lot, but the message is there. Number 2.
Number 2? Was it David?
Jerome, I think.
Where's Jerome?
Why that short? My name is Jerome Sevaduka Lugumida. I work with NEMA. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to look at the document, but I have captured a few things here, which I think will improve the document. One, under NFA, rightly so, not we, but they are supposed to produce land use, land covered data, not only the land use and land covered data. In addition to compilation of biomass information. It goes beyond the production of data, but also dissemination of this information. For ministry, yeah. My youth, I think beyond integrating the Red Plus safeguards, they're supposed to integrate these in their extension support systems. Again, they're not here. Yeah, like agroforestry and other things. Then that takes me to the districts. I think when you have DNROs, you don't need DFOs because DFOs are in the Department of Natural Resources. I also ask that you include the production department because it is the linkage to the extension services provided by MAIF. And they have a role to play there. I'll go to the Ministry of, to NEMA itself. Beyond the undertaking capacity building, we have a whole department of awareness. So there is awareness. We also, in what we do, we implement, we are supposed to integrate Red Plus actions in their assessment processes and audits. And finally, I think I saw that in my view, more clarity will be created when the climate change department and FSSD are separated for avoidance of doubt and overflow of mandates. And it was in the consultant's presentation where she presented both and the Ministry of Water and Environment. She says particularly CCD and FSSD, and these are composted actions. I find that it become separated. Then lastly, MOJICA, that is the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Technically speaking, we originate laws, they support in framing laws. They can provide technical backstopping for interpretation of these laws and regulations. Thank you. The NEMA Act provides for the Environment Police Force, EPF. Yeah, then the Uganda Police Force has a unit called the Environment Protection Unit, EPPU, something like that. EPF is directly under the supervision of NEMA. EPPU is directly under the supervision of the Uganda Police Force, the IGP. So EPPU is, and this is the new arrangement, EPPU is technically stationed at the territorial police stations. They can only support with case management, enforcement activities, etc. But EPF, which is the Environment Police Force, is stationed at the headquarters and regionalized in the 4 regions at the moment, in Mbale, Masindi, Hoima, Mbarara, and Lira. They are directly under the supervision of NEMA. The other EPPU is under the supervision of the Uganda Police Force. Yeah, EPPU is under Internal Affairs. But EPF, yeah, EPF is under NEMA. And it's our enforcement arm.
The EPPU unit is supposed to support enforcement activities in the territories where they are based.
Thank you, moderator. And the consultants, thank you for the sharing and the work you have put in really. I am requesting, moderator, that we link this engagement of stakeholders with the benefit sharing arrangements that the colleague mentioned. Because we are talking about an emission reduction program, this is the carbon selling possibility. And so when we are listing the stakeholders to engage, we should list them with a view that these will be beneficiaries to begin with. And therefore, like Madam from EcoTrust mentioned, we escalate their engagement to consultation. So that now we have the possibility that we will be sharing benefit sharing arrangements with them. If this is going to be a carbon agreement between the government of Uganda, represented by the Ministry of Water and Environment, and the Leaf Coalition he has mentioned, then we go native and actually narrow down the people who are likely to be the beneficiaries. So on the list, for example, for this forestry activity, you look at the central government ministries, departments, and agencies directly responsible for forestry and activities linked to drivers of deforestation and forest degradation. Departments responsible for climate change directly. The district local governments where the activities and projects are going to take place. If it is going to be at national, then all the 146. If it is going to choose a water management zone, then those ones in that zone. Then host institutions and households, if we are going to include interventions that are involving institutions and individual households. For example, if we put an intervention to reduce the overuse of biomass by introducing cook stoves, then you have the individual person or institution which accepts the cook stove. Then we should be able to reach them out and ask what would be their interest, intention, and willingness. Then we have the largest component, the household themselves, then the landowners. In all the categories that our colleague from Lands has mentioned, from the individuals to clans to associations to institutions to all of those who have responsibility over land, we should list them with that native intention of reaching them to discuss the benefit sharing arrangements. And if there are some who are holding licenses, for example, in protected areas like in NFA or concessions in the national park, those are also interest holders. If you put a project there, they will be affected. So we should look them out and list them in. Then local communities, the way she has mentioned them, including the ones here we call the vulnerable groups, where the international one, people call some are called indigenous peoples and so on, seeking them out, and also the potential business owners like EcoTrust, for example, of carbon, like the gentleman from Green Resources. Those are already potential carbon holders. They are currently holding the carbon projects. And if we are intending to do another carbon project in the landscape they are in, we need to physically map out what it is they have already identified and registered. But I am bringing this one out so that our engagement table gets enriched with native business stakeholders who will now be actually signing the benefit sharing agreements when this NAMI is made. So that was my proposal, moderator.
May I just add a simple addition to the academia, the Uganda National Curriculum Development Center. If we can start integrating RED Plus activities in primary and secondary curriculum. Maybe since they are ever revising their curriculum, it's good to bring them on board to see how we can start doing these things early enough.
Actually, I think Ministry of Education has changed the curriculum for these secondary schools. It's more practical, and that would be a very good entry point if we can advise them. Secretariat, I think that was Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture, NFA, and tourism was mentioned, but I don't, it was about them covering up the trees because the animals are in there. And since they are enforcement related, I think, no, what I'm saying, now who'll protect me? I'm the facilitator. In these days, we say ladies empowerment. You speak add on and then you'll end. We are just changing a bit of.
Thank you, moderator. I want to speak more to the action plan. I don't know what they meant by time frame, but I think if you add when needed to these stakeholders, it becomes irrelevant to them. They will do it when they feel like. So I think I suggest you put or have program implementation action plan so that you emphasize the issue of mainstreaming. And then also it will make them have that accountability and need to implement this action plan. So as is, when you put when needed, many of these people will not implement it unless they had already had it in their plans, or it is a terms of reference for a particular officer. For example, a focal point will implement this because they know it's against their appraisal. And then the issue of NFA and the forest monitoring systems, UNDP is supporting the natural resource information system. It's called NARIS. It was upgraded. So we believe that it's going to give you additional information on land cover status. So please add that. They will have to use some of these systems. The same applies with NEMA. The two institutions have been actively engaged and trained on the NARIS. So we believe NARIS is going to support on monitoring forest and other ecosystems because wetland was added as another layer on this system. Thank you. I think that's all that I have. Thank you.
Our online members, Sarah, at least to assure you've been there with us. In case you have a question, please plan to air it after the person holding the mic. Thanks.
Thank you, moderator. Mine is about some stakeholders that, sorry, I'm Mujisha Adam once again, and I would like to air out this. From the action plan and the draft report, I haven't seen anywhere FSC, that is Forest Stewardship Council. And as you may be aware, it promotes responsible management of forests, and it is very closely related to RED Plus. So I would wish to say that maybe let us bring it on board as well, because it will promote sustainability of forests through certification. And in so doing, we can able to achieve more carbon.
Thank you so much. Okay, I just have a question. At one time, we had a farm income enhancement project that was supposed to put 9,000 hectares of bare hill trees planted. Can my boss here, the focal person, Just answer that before we send it.
I didn't understand what you're saying. So we had the project, and what happened?
I can answer. You had a project at one time. So when I hear people, we want to, and you see bare hilltops when we move around all over the country. And I remember I heard of such a project, farm income enhancement, and it had one output of planting 90,000 hectares of hilltops. I've just remembered and I said, what happened?
They were planted. That's the best I can say. Actually, most of the harvesting that you're seeing across the landscape, especially if you know the districts where that project was, it is mainly because of that project support. It was an African Development Bank, Nordic Development Fund project, as well as Government of Uganda. It did a lot of tree planting, many woodlots out there. It's one of the projects that actually delivered on its obligations, I must say.
Thank you very much. Why did I ask that? It is to encourage other stakeholders that when we hear there are people hoping and willing and interested in financing, you can see, by the way, we are doing very good on time. Can you clap for me? So now you are going to discuss more and we get stakeholder commitments and action out of this room. Give her the mic.
Thank you very much. I still want to harp on this issue of IPLCs. In the document, there are some inconsistencies. There is good reference to the indigenous peoples plan of the ministry, and then it lists hunter-gatherers, it lists forest-dependent communities, which is good. But when it comes to the table, I think it would be nice to maintain those groups, because now new groups are being sneaked in. Some groups are being mentioned, some groups are being mentioned twice, like Ik and what have you are the same as Karamajong. So it would be nice to be consistent. But also, this half a page, like 4 paragraphs talking about these people, I find it to be insufficient, in that because this particular group, when I talked about the levels of stakeholder engagement, where there is informed, consulted, and what have you, this group has like the deepest level of engagement, and yet the rightly so, the document recognizes that this is where the biggest gap is. So even in the way forward, it would be nice to have proper strategies that identify how this group is going to be engaged with in terms of access to procedural rights, access to information, but also access and capacity to participate. What are the functional units within which they should participate? Because they're not as straightforward as us. You say for NGOs, you go to the forest working group or whatever it is, but then they are not organized this way. So in my opinion, this particular segment that refers to them needs to go a bit deeper and describe how they are going to be capacitated to participate, and how their rights are going to be recognized, and how even the processes through which they normally participate are recognized and integrated. So a bit more thought needs to be given to this particular category of IPOCs as indigenous peoples and local communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. You know, sometimes you consult by hearing, and then you come and do your report. But in the real sense, have these people been brought on board? And that's how they end up neglecting what we have said. Back to the consultant, there is this course of natural resources. Is it in Busitema University, or there's academia listing for academia missed out a university that is of late? I think they come for attachment somewhere, and academia should do research. Busitema, another one, you know, we tend to cling on Makerere University. But there is something else. Now, I believe we have some members online, Sarah Beard and Nathan Mununuzi. If you have a concern, a question, please feel free to show a hand and we shall get back to you. In the meantime, as I wait for them, yes, do we have any other clarity? Thank you so much for those additions. I take them as enriching, no reduction, no reduction. Additions. Any other comment? Any other? Yes, John.
In Uganda, we normally have very nice documents, but we have an issue of operationalizing them. So I'm wondering how we can mobilize resources or government can deliberately operationalize some of the things that are in this document. A case in point is the task force on RED, and the national technical committees. They last met when we had the World Bank funding. And I find it really, is it true that we can't mobilize resources to have these committees functional? Thank you.
Who expects to give an answer from that? I don't know, but where you're here, is it true that we Ugandans, as the Pearl of Africa, as many as we are, as educated as we are, as resourceful as we are, by the way, there is a statement you made, and I wrote it here. Uganda is very good at being the first. Then what happens? And then my other question goes, who gives these people money? I've changed. Okay, who is the person who feels this most? It is us. If it is a constraint of biomass, it is us. The prices of charcoal, it is us. Yesterday, I saw charcoal from bamboo. What is the price? I don't know. Is bamboo a strange thing in the country? Which country is as resourced as we are? So why don't we use what we have to help ourselves? Where is the missing link? Our boss is going to answer. Thank you.
About the missing link?
We are good at treating that first, and then what happens?
Oh, no. It's rather the statement to say we don't continue to do when we are the first. I think it's just true that we normally do things pretty faster than other countries. It's very likely that I think it's about our technical. I think Uganda has built quite a bit of capacity in these areas. In fact, we are a kingpin in the region for these works of RED Plus, of data collection analysis, and all those kind of things. We are quite. I think we're doing pretty well. Although capacity buildings, doesn't stop. So we normally deliver quickly on a number of things. I don't want to give them many examples. Even the RED Plus itself, readiness phase, we recall Tanzania was the first in the region to go far in having a RED Plus strategy and the like. But when we came, we did a much better, okay, not to call it diplomatic, but I think we learned quite quickly, and we did something much more than other countries did in the region. But let me just go to this point you're saying about the national technical committees and the task forces. In the readiness phase, we had some specific funding from GOU, which we are trying to mobilize again since the readiness phase. And it was easy to utilize those resources for mobilizing our task forces and technical committees. Maybe for information, the task forces that we had and technical committees were mainly to help us deliver the readiness WASO elements, because we needed to do we needed some technical input from different technical persons from different institutions, bringing different capacities and different knowledge into the processes. And we were like, at that time we had funding. We're trying to mobilize that now, but also even with the current support, we want to see that we revive them, but not the way they were, because things have changed. Now we want to go into implementation. So the number of people on those committees that are not going to add a lot of value. So we are trying to refine those committees. In fact, we wanted to call them a working group. We attempted to bring them together as a working group to deliver the LEAF proposal, for example. So because we looked at them, many of them have left these institutions. Some have gone to be with the Lord. And so it's we're trying to refine those committees, looking at whether they can now, what more can they deliver in terms of implementation rather than the readiness phase requirements that we had. So it's not that we don't want to utilize them, but we're trying, we normally call upon them, by the way, slowly as a secretariat to have an input into some of these processes. But in terms of calling them for a workshop like this one, specific to task forces and technical committees, we haven't done that, but we utilize them in the background to provide an input into most of these processes. So it's not that they're not being utilized anyway. I must say that. Yeah, I think maybe that's it. Is there anything more? Maybe not. Which specific to the secretariat? Maybe just to mention also that we're trying to build the Red Plus Secretariat into, I mean, to be able to deliver now the results-based payments rather than documents, just documents like we had in the readiness phase. So it's a bit different. The way we look at it is different. It's not the usual. It's not going to be business as usual. So there are many people we have to call upon, including people who are not in this country to support us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good enough. We have electronic media. We can easily speak. We believe they'll come on board. Yes, Harriet.
I'm just making a request to the secretariat. I saw in the presentation of Bob, when I talked about trainings undertaken for assessing emissions and forest degradation. I don't know who are the participants under a full MRV tool, but I see in the local governments that there is requirement for contributing knowledge and information to update the system of Ready Plus. So I don't know whether there are any participants from local governments to be trained in assessing emissions and forest degradation. Because you keep demanding information from local governments. I see that sometimes we consider only NFA, and NFA concentrates on only central forest reserves. And yet in our documents, we say that 70% of the forest estate, although it is not now, like so, it is on privately owned land, which are managed by local governments. And I think you also need information on assessing degradation on private land, and which is a mandate of local governments. So I'm wondering whether there are any local government staffs that are being considered for training in assessing emissions and forest degradation, or you are only going to concentrate on central forest reserves. Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Harriet Nancha. I'm a senior forestry officer at Chiso District, and I'm a vice president for Uganda Forest Working Group, representing local governments.
Thank you. In addition, there is a time the Ministry of Water and Environment conducted training in the use and development of the MRV tool. That was in Entebbe, 2021, 2020, I forget. How far did we go? How is it being utilized? Then we are going to train. Who is using it? Who is reporting on this? That is just something I've remembered. About the, you say the project idea note is yet to be concluded. When is it to be concluded? What do you need from these stakeholders who are here? Your high-level stakeholder engagement. It is yet to be concluded. The carbon credits go obsolete if not utilized. I pick some interesting statements. And we have here carbon trading. It's a very busy thing. By the time we began these pilots, EcoTrust and John Begmana, it was like jargon. Up to now, how if we still haven't, and who has, and how have they succeeded? What have we lost out? What can we do? Are these stakeholders here able to be of use to us to avoid that obsoleteness that we have not utilized? Thank you.
You know, when you are the focal point, you have to struggle. But I have some people who can help me. Is Xavier here? And Enoch, and I don't want to ask John. I mean, specifically the question of the local governments and the work that the FAO has been doing and how these probably are being brought on board. But I recall under the CBIT, the Capacity Building Initiative Transparency, we targeted local governments, number of local government staff were targeted for training. And we went even as far as data analysis techniques, the R and the R and the like, for even that the local government staff were part of that capacity building. And I know that we have been doing quite a bit to make sure that in whatever parts of the country we go, that forest officers are included among the teams that are learning on some of these new techniques for data collection, but also analysis. Analysis is at another level. Most times analysis is done away from the ground. So you find that usually the team that does analysis may not necessarily be the same team that does, the data collection. So we need to be very sure of, separating some of those things. But we think that yes, and we have taken note of that. I know FAO is the one that is looking at that piece of work, working closely with the NFA. We just want to check and make sure that a number of local government staff are usually brought on board. We have attempted to do that. You asked me a question about the obsoleteness. Well, I mean, I was just making it simple, but it's just, for example, if you have credits that you have presented in 2020, let me give an example, 2018, and you take so long to claim them, there's one thing that can happen to those credits. How do you avoid that? That's very tricky for this part of the world. I see Pauline is putting up their hand, but there's a lot of leakage. I mean, there could be deforestation. You might need another baseline, in other words. So because you might be talking about credits that are not necessarily as useful because maybe they've been lost into a number of other activities. So I was just using a simple thing. I mean, if you get old, then you're not as useful. Sometimes you cannot run as fast as, not be as high, you're high, usefulness. I mean, I was just using that example, but in terms of credits, it's just more or less the same thing. Looking at it from that layman's, just for people to understand. But there is a lot of leakage. There is a lot of things that can happen to those credits. You've registered somewhere, but you have not utilized in any way. Usually, they are suspect credits in terms of their being available and being as clean as you left them. The PIN, I don't know which one. We're talking about the emission reduction PIN that I talked about for the 2 management zones. No, we didn't complete the process to do the PDD. But why we wanted to go that direction? Because we thought as a country we would pick on those 4 water management zones with their project design documents, which is like a shopping document. And then we can stand for nesting, for example. So we can allocate credits or volumes to people like WCS, WWF, and all those organizations that are doing some carbon projects at project level. But then with time we have realized that it may not be the way to go. So we're actually rethinking as a secretariat. We really have to go that direction. Because maybe yes, maybe no, but we shall agree on that. But that was so we didn't complete because we didn't have financing to do a PDD out of the pins. It's not very difficult now, the fact that we have pins for those 2. The difficult ones are the other 2 management zones, like the Upper Nile and Victoria, for which we don't even have pins. So when you want to do PDD, the pins are the first stage, an action plan, then the pin, then the project design document. So we are in the middle. For those two, we are at nothing for the other two, the Victoria and Upper Nile. So it's a bit expensive, I must say. What else? I think there was something to do with the gender, what was that? No, not really. Not really. Actually, we're trying to be innovative and see, even within the support of UNRED, that we can support rejuvenate or support the task forces, but really have the view of the focal point that we might need to call them differently. We may not necessarily call them task force and technical committee, probably a working group, but that is not a discussion that we are trying to have with a couple of colleagues at the Secretariat to agree. I know that sometimes we can be fixated on those names, but I think for me, depends on the value addition. What do we need from these people? Do we need them as task forces now? Do we need them as technical committees? Because usually it has to be the task forces to do the initial look at these documents, do the donkey work on these documents, and then the National Technical Committee does a sort of quality control. It was high level. For example, if we had the principal officer from a government department on the task force, then we had an assistant commissioner or above on the National Technical Committee. Then we had somebody above on the National Climate Change Advisory Committee, which is also the steering committee for it. So that's how we were doing our work during the readiness phase. We had structures that could support us to add value, technical value, but also policy guidance on whatever documents that we're working on. For example, right now, there are things we want to subject to the National Climate Change Advisory Committee before they move out. And this phase of the registration document and the like will be subjected to the National Climate Change Advisory Committee, for example, which is chaired by the PS. So it's and we're also going to subject these processes to a working group or we're putting on people from the task force and technical committees to subject these documents that we're doing to them in the coming months, in the next round of support from the UNRED support. So it's not that we've left them, we've just shelved those committees. No, it's not actually true. We're utilizing them. Yeah. Some of the members of those committees, so you're going to be, and you know how we have asked for some input from you in some of these processes. So yeah, but indeed, you're right. We probably need to be more aggressive on how to utilize those structures.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
This is something we have. Maybe it is a structural problem. Uganda, our institution has always been in transition. It's very difficult to know which institution will be where at any time. But could we, in the meantime, enhance the FSSD started the regional offices, or that one was also dropped? If they are there, because we have got so many districts, it could be a problem, and they are ever in transit also being modified now and then. We utilize the regions and we institutionalize the system for reporting and measuring, at least using the regional offices. So if we build the capacity of the regional office and then we sort of train trainers so that the regional office can, within their own means and mandate, work with the other districts that they are under that region, so that we can develop a mechanism of having information flow and in two directions. Actually, districts are complaining they no longer get information from the central government and NFA. We only go there to pick data. We never share maps with them. We never share information with them. That's the complaint I got from Onwere, at least. So my thinking is we may have to build the capacity of the regional offices. They are they called regional? Are they environmental? Not environmental.
Regional in the Ministry of Water, and it comprises water, forestry, wetlands.
That system, if we can build the capacity there and enhance it, so that they also, the capacity is trickles down to the different districts. Thank you. Because we are talking of an MRV system, and we need to. By the way, another thing that I had wanted to talk about, sorry, is that under RED, And all the discussions under RED, they want commitment from countries. But they allowed projects and jurisdictions like districts and water management zone as like a learning phase. But ultimately is for countries to report, they want countries to report, they want reporting at country level. That's why these people always go to represent Uganda under this conference of parties. And so when we talk of discussed jurisdictions, it is always saying, okay, a stepwise approach. It might be very difficult to start reporting as a country, but if we can start reporting under maybe water management zone, and as we learn, but ultimately we are required to report as a country. And NDC has also brought in another idea that, okay, even countries can report or can trade in carbon. So it is more important than ever before that we build the capacity of all the institutions for purposes of transparency when we are measuring and when we are reporting. Thank you.
I don't think we can add anything more. The discussion is becoming. Can we stand up? Then Martha will say something and then we shall end. We are in good time, don't worry. Can we stand up? Too much sitting is not healthy for me, but I believe we are also following. Can we stand up, ladies and gentlemen?
One plus one equals two. Can you do that? 1 plus 1 equals 2. Okay. Again, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Then you are going to say 2 plus 2 equals 2 plus 2 equals 4. Is that the 4? Equals 2 again. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Faster. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Again, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now the hard one. 4 plus 4 equals 8. What's happening to you? And then we are in 10, and then after Martha had made, thank you so much for all the contributions, the discussions. Our consultants are happy, I believe. Consultant, do you want to say anything? Come again. She's not going to mind us alone.
Yes, thank you so much, moderator. Just to give the team an assurance that we really appreciate the comments that we've received. We've achieved the objective of this meeting, where we wanted to have an input in the stakeholder engagement plan, and we've ably shared the information that we need to enrich it. So thank you so much, and I want to assure you that we are going to incorporate them.
In summary, you have said that it is consultation by inclusion of what we have said. It's not consultation by leaving it here in the room and then the final things come and we are all left out. Martha, please.
Thank you. I wanted to add my voice to the previous speaker who suggested a regional approach. First, to also inform the members here that we have 22 regional offices in this country, and those regional offices also extend the services for land use mapping and data which I believe is one of the entry points that the regional officers here can look for this information in order to establish those baselines. So from those 22 regional offices, I think we can also align the districts or the regional, the regions that are proposed under this program to be able to obtain that data that is scientifically mapped out, and then be able to make good strides in terms of action plans. I just wanted to lend that information.
Thank you so much. Those are called ministry zonal offices. I don't want to add anything there, but if they're there, we welcome them and let them realize that it's not about business, but land use and services. I hope the regional officers here can access those offices and get the information they need without a hassle. I leave it at that. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, those who don't know what I meant, and I usually speak like that, don't worry, I mean no offense. I'm thankful to all of you for accepting me to be your moderator. Once again, as I put down the mic, I'm Rebecca Kenya Sabaganzi. I have a passion for conservation. I am a natural resource practitioner somewhere in this country, but today I am a moderator. But you could have refused to accept my standing before you. Can you give me a hand clap because you accepted me? Thank you very much. And then again, you clap for me because we've managed time. I usually tell people time is a natural resource, and I don't change that statement. We have managed time. And as we get to the end of this day, it was a half-day meeting. By 11:45, which is not yet, we are supposed to be having a way forward and closing. So when the boss closes, who am I to speak again? I thank you.
I thought that maybe, you think Sarah has anything to say? Maybe?
No, I just wanted to join into the applause and to say thank you so much for your excellent moderation and all of the wonderful participation today. I think there's a lot of questions, very valuable contributions as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You know, and Sarah, thanks for keeping in. She started off very early with us, which is really not easy because I think by the time we started here, it was 6 o'clock where she is. So I think it's, and she's kept in, you know, she's kept in up to now. So I think we need to give her a round of applause for that. It's not easy to, you know, to have a partner keep in for all this time because there is quite a lot of things that are going on out there. So as a way of forward, I know we've talked a lot, but allow me just to thank you indeed, because allow me to mention also that this invitation came to you. Initially, we wanted to have this meeting about a week ago, if you recall. So we then pushed it to, I think, by a week. So we want to thank you indeed for accepting to, you know, to change your focus and your timing into allowing to come for this meeting today. But we received about 90% confirmations, and the Minister of Agriculture was the first to confirm attendance, and they are not here. Maybe something happened to them. And then Minister of Finance also confirmed, 2 people from Minister of Finance. I guess they could have been caught up by something. The EDNF himself communicated to us and said he will delegate one of the top persons to attend this meeting. So probably they could have been caught up by something urgent, because that really is quite common with the jobs that we do in this country. You could have a sudden request instruction to go somewhere. But I want to thank you indeed for the resilience this morning. I don't want to keep you for long because I know that tomorrow is, has it been confirmed? Is it Eid? Tomorrow, is it a public holiday? It has been confirmed now, because I wasn't sure that the moon appeared or something. And I'm not very sure, but for the Muslim colleagues, please, do you confirm that tomorrow is a public holiday? Do we have the Muslim colleagues here? Okay, good. So Because of that, we felt that we needed to have this as a half day and focus ourselves on the issues that we need. And we want to thank you for the comments that you have provided to us. And I know that the consultant is taken note, and the secretariat will support in the incorporation of these comments working with the consultant. The next thing we have to do is to ensure that this safeguards, safeguards is the word that really, is part of me, but the stakeholder engagement plan is fine-tuned to the level that you wish, and we hope that we shall share with you that version so that you can confirm that you have taken care of before the final submission. We can that we have taken care of your submissions. And I think this should happen the next couple of days. We also noticed that I think we need some specific or targeted engagements on benefit sharing. That issue was raised, but maybe to mention, this is to John Beguman and the colleagues who have interest in this benefit sharing arrangement. We have provided an input as Red Plus specific to the regulations on benefit sharing. But one of the things we have requested the task team to do is to allow for a separate template and an opportunity for projects, red projects, to develop a benefit sharing plan, for the specific. It's very difficult for you to have, but of course guided by the other tenets of the law in this country. But we hope to have a targeted engagement with some of you on benefit sharing as a way of having additional input into the regulation, but also as a way of improving the way we shall be engaging on benefit sharing as a Red Plus. We also observe actually that additional capacity building should be done. I know we have funds to build capacity on our trees, but I think we should do it in a manner that will ensure that everybody is taken on board on the art trees itself and the requirements and all these kind of things that are related to this standard. So we, as a way forward, we are going to arrange, and don't be surprised when we call upon you to participate in some of the capacity building engagements. For information also, this stakeholder engagement plan is actually very useful for the next steps of our support with UN Red, led by UN Environment, as well as with UNDP and FAO, in the sense that this plan will be useful for engaging even in the development of the trees registration document and finalizing the trees monitoring report, because there are a couple of sections that need some beefing up. So it's a very useful document for this process. Now we also have stakeholder engagement activities that are going to be supported by UNDP, and this stakeholder engagement plan is going to be utilized as we deliver those stakeholder engagement activities, including stakeholder engagements on issues to do with the whole entire carbon financing, carbon trade, what it means, voluntary carbon markets. We have all the things that we really want to build capacity, but also maybe sensitize some of you, because there was a statement here by my peers that not many people are grounded on this topic. Even the simple, I call them simple things, like how do you calculate the carbon credit? How do you calculate emission reductions? And this kind of things should be known to, everybody must be able to understand how that is done. So it's not rocket science, I must tell you. It's just that I think we need to present it to you in a manner that will make you appreciate it and be able to be champions of this moving forward, because we know that a carbon trade is one of those, if the colleagues from the climate finance or the Minister of Finance were here, they will tell you that carbon trade has been identified as one of those climate financing options that this country has. We have a lot of potential. We have so much opportunities. We have the UN Red support as an opportunity. We have all these non-state actors with quite a bit of experience. We have EcoTrust here. Every time we have EcoTrust in the room, I'm very sure that if we have some very difficult questions, Pauline and the team will be able to answer on carbon trade, because they've been here for over 20 years, and we are learning quite a lot from the work that they have done. Maybe also to make a bit clear also is that in the next engagement we shall have with you as a way forward, we shall try to share with you some of the key schedules in the regulations that would have been approved. We shall try to sensitize you on the regulations and the guidelines that we're preparing now, because this question of approval keeps coming up. But maybe just to make it a little bit clearer, if a voluntary carbon project has already started, it's already moving on. It's a carbon, not talking about a feasibility, I'm talking about a carbon project already registered somewhere, maybe by whatever standard, Vera or Land Vivo, Gold Standard, whatever it is. It just needs to notify the ministry, notify the minister that this is what we are doing and this is where we are operating from and this kind of thing. Give us those other details that are important for a government to know. But if you have not started, then you are subject to the regulations. So the so-called pre-approval is a discussion we're still having, but the tone is that I think you may have to be subjected to regulations. This is why we're doing whatever it takes to make sure these regulations come out as fast as possible. And that is why the Red Plus is supporting this process, because there are many projects that are Red-like or Red Plus projects that are just waiting for these regulations so that we can, provide the much needed guidance. So as a way forward, I think we need to take you through what is happening if you have not had an opportunity. I know we have always pointed out some of the key things, elements that are supportive to Red Plus in the regulations to you wherever we meet. But I observe that I think we need to do more than we've done. So this stakeholder engagement plan is going to be utilized for such purposes. I want to thank you. So I wish you the best of Eid celebrations, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much for closing. And I don't know if Emily has some announcements to make to the participants here. Otherwise, from the program, there was lunch and departure. So maybe we can depart as you give us the closing prayer.
Before the closing prayer, as you look at the agenda, there is a program for lunch. We will call it so lunch is ready. The coupons are with that lady, so you can pass by and pick a coupon. Thank you very much.